Chapter 292. The first requirement of refining the blood marrow powder was the easiest for Lu Kuan to fulfill. When he was still immortal, his blood essence was comparable to that of a chi condensation cultivator. Now that he had such a powerful physical body, his blood essence was definitely stronger than that of a core formation cultivator. As for the second requirement, it was quite simple. Congealed fat jade was very famous in the immortal cultivation world, especially the jade bottle made of congealed fat jade. It could be used to store heavenly materials and earthly treasures or seal high-level souls. It was a necessity for many high-level cultivators. Although the price was relatively high, it could still be bought in most of the large markets. The only thing that gave Lu Kuan a headache was the third requirement. Because Lu Kuan's body tempering technique didn't require the use of ordinary cultivators' medicinal pills, he had never delved into the art of alchemy. As for this spiritual medicine called the blood clotting grass, he had never heard of it. As such, Lu Kuan had to first go to the market to buy a jade bottle made of congealed fat jade and inquire about the blood clotting grass. On the map in Lu Kuan's hands, there were a few markets. However, they were all relatively small, similar to the Lingming market. Most of the people who came to buy things were chi condensation cultivators. If Lu Kuan wanted to find his things, he had to at least find a market on the scale of the Yang clan's market. Originally, Lu Kuan's planned route did not have such a market square. Fortunately, his route was about 5 or 6 days away, marked with a large-scale market square. It seemed that this market square was built by many small sects and cultivator families in the surrounding area. In the next few days, apart from hurrying, Lu Kuan was inscribing the lightning seal. Taking advantage of the day when the spirit root appeared, he successfully inscribed the lightning seal on his left arm. At this time, Lu Kuan's first feeling was that the speed at which he absorbed magic power nearly doubled. With his speed, Lu Kuan's body tempering also sped up a lot. For days later, Lu Kuan's spiritual roots reappeared. When he excitedly tried to inscribe the lightning seal on his legs again, he discovered that the lightning seal on his legs was the same as it was when he was in the chi refinement realm. He could only barely form half of the lightning. The last bit was simply impossible to successfully inscribe. Forcefully inscribing, it would cause his powerful physical body to explode. It seemed that as the number of lightning strikes increased, the difficulty of inscribing and the requirements on the physical body also increased. When he discovered this point, it was as if he had suddenly been splashed with a bucket of cold water, chilling him from head to toe. He couldn't help but sigh with emotion at the difficulty of this imperial lightning body refinement technique. Even with his current strength, which was comparable to a level 4 beast body, he still couldn't bear the third thunder strike. It could be seen that this derived body refining technique was definitely not something ordinary people could cultivate. Judging from the strength of Zhao Qingtian's body, after reaching the foundation establishment stage, his strength was only around 20,000 jin. If he was able to practice this imperial thunder body refinement technique, he would only be able to inscribe 1 thunder seal at most. From the looks of it, for Lu Kuan to inscribe the remaining 4 thunder seals, he would have to reach the late foundation establishment stage at the very least. At that time, his physical body would definitely be extremely powerful. After inscribing the 3rd thunder seal on the spirit shuttle, Lu Kuan could only put down the thunder seal for now. Forget it. The cultivation speed of 2 thunder seals is just barely acceptable. Coupled with the strength of the lightning attribute magic, the speed of tempering the physical body is much faster than when I was in the foundation establishment stage. I'm around 50 years old this year. I still have about 200 years of lifespan left. Compared to the cultivation speed of traditional cultivators, I must reach the middle foundation establishment stage before I'm 100 years old. I'll use the remaining 150 years to break through to the late foundation establishment stage in the great circle of foundation establishment. Then, I'll reach the core formation stage. As Lu Kuan controlled the spirit shuttle, he thought about the time he could use. Looking at the rapidly receding clouds, Lu Kuan frowned. This won't do. I have to compress the time. If I want to break through my physical body, I have to have sufficient chi and blood. If I really reach 200 years of age, my lifespan will be exhausted. My chi and blood will definitely weaken. At that time, even if I reach the great circle of foundation establishment, it will be extremely difficult to break through to the next stage. After the battle at the Shangqing sect and his escape, Lu Kuan increasingly felt the importance of the qi and blood of the physical body. Cultivators under the age of 50 can't cultivate the Vajra esoteric art because after 50 years of age, the physical body's nerves and other physical conditions have begun to change. The control of the muscles has greatly decreased, so there's no way to cultivate it. The reason I suppressed my first foundation establishment stage before 50 years of age is because, based on my lifespan of 100 years, after 50 years of age, the physical body's condition will begin to deteriorate. If I don't succeed in foundation establishment, it will only become more and more difficult. Deducing from this, advancing to the core formation stage is the same. Although I don't know how a body cultivator breaks through to the core formation stage, it definitely has an extremely important relationship with the physical body's qi and blood. According to the general lifespan, if I can reach the great circle of foundation establishment before 120 years of age, then my chances of forming my gold core will definitely be much higher than when I was 200 years old. Lu Kuan's face was somewhat pale. He muttered, "In other words, if I have to spend 80 years to reach the great circle of foundation establishment, then forming my gold core will be easier." According to the ratio of cultivation time between the middle stage, late stage, and great circle of foundation establishment, it will take about 15 years to reach the middle stage, 25 years to reach the late stage, and 40 years to reach the great circle of foundation establishment. If I'm the real Rellingan, and I'm also cultivating the most orthodox cultivation method, and if I have enough medicinal pills, then it might be possible. Although the progress of foundation establishment and bone refining is still okay, it's impossible to break through in 15 years. After lowering his head and pondering for a long time, Lu Kuan thought of a way to speed up his cultivation, and that was to try to use a spell stronger than the Thunderfall art to temper his body. Advanced lightning spells are greatly reduced due to my lightning resistance. As for some intermediate spells, I can give them a try. Mid-grade spells are definitely much weaker than the Thunderfall art, but correspondingly, I don't have the relevant resistance, so it will definitely have a tempering effect on my body. Since I can't improve my Thunderstrike now, then this time, in addition to buying the congealed fat jade bottle and inquiring about the blood coagulation grass, should I look for some mid-grade spells? This kind of spell talisman? Basically, all of them can be successfully refined by core formation cultivators, so they definitely won't be cheap. If I hadn't killed Wang Shirtong in the Land of Death, obtained the storage pouch of the Heavenly Sword Sect cultivator, and obtained the loot from the Shangqing sect battle, I should be able to afford it. Hey, it's in front. In the place where Lu Kuan was looking, there was a huge town. From the outside, this town looked a bit bigger than the Yang clan's market square. The light of restrictions flashed outside. The name marked on the map was Nanfo Market Square. With this market square as the center, there were 5 or 6 small cultivation sects and 7 or 8 cultivation clans in the vicinity. After a while, Lu Kuan landed outside the market square. He put Xiao Jin into the spirit beast pouch and stimulated the magic power in his muscles, letting the magic power in his body spread out, revealing his early foundation establishment cultivation. The things he wanted weren't things that a qi condensation cultivator had the financial resources to buy. Revealing his foundation establishment cultivation wouldn't cause too much trouble. Chapter 293. On a bluestone road in Nanfo Market, there were many people coming and going. They were all cultivators with different levels of cultivation. If one looked carefully, they would discover that there were quite a few foundation establishment cultivators in the crowd. Senior, Nanfo Market is the most lively place in the vicinity. Look, there are several hundred cultivators here every day. Even foundation establishment cultivators like Senior are close to 100. On this road, there was a young cultivator with a fawning expression. He was eloquently explaining to a tall and sturdy man. Behind this man were 2 youths, one big and one small. who were looking around. Most of the cultivators in the market are from the nearby cultivation sects. The tall and sturdy man who spoke was Lu Kuan. After he brought his 2 disciples in, there were cultivators called Feng Xinzi, who came forward to guide the cultivators to some shops. Then, the shops would give them a commission. Senior, that's right. The reason why Nanfeng Market is called this is because it was jointly built by the Nansha sect and the Feng clan. These 2 sects both have core formation cultivators overseeing them. Lu Kuan looked at the expression of this middle qi condensation cultivator, Feng Xinzi. His expression didn't change, but he had a better understanding of Chu's situation. The area he was currently in belonged to Chu's Dongqi province. He didn't know if it was due to the influence of the Land of Death, but the spiritual qi here was relatively barren compared to other places in Chu. Therefore, there weren't any large sects in Dongqi province. There were only a few small sects and cultivation clans. The strongest sect was the Nansha sect. They only had 2 core formation cultivators overseeing them. As for the Feng clan, their strength should be about the same as Qingzhouzi clan. They had 1 core formation cultivator overseeing them. Senior, you could just call me Little You. I'm very familiar with this place. If you want to buy anything, just tell me. Then, Little You carefully looked at the people around him. He approached Lu Kuan and whispered, I can also find a few secret places for foundation establishment cultivators to hold small trade fairs. Lu Kuan smiled and said, First, take me to the biggest shop here. I need to buy many things. When Little You heard this, he immediately knew what was going on. He had picked the biggest shop as soon as he arrived, and from the sound of it, he must have bought a lot of things. He was definitely a rich man. For a moment, his speech became more nimble. The biggest shop is in the center of this street. It's called the Thousand Treasures Tower. It's said that the Thousand Treasures Tower was opened by a large family with nascent soul cultivators from another province. The South Beach sect and the Feng family can't afford to offend them. Look, it's the 5-story building in front. Lu Kuan raised his head and looked into the distance. At a glance, he saw the tallest building. The signboard outside was shining with golden light. Although they were separated by a distance, with Lu Kuan's eyesight and insight, he could see that the 3 words Myriad Treasure Tower were made from a rather precious material, scarlet gold, Oregon. This scarlet gold ore was a necessary material for many magic tools to be refined into a level 3 psychic level. There should be a congealing jade bottle in such a place. Lu Kuan thought so. Under the lead of Little You, he entered with the 2 disciples. As soon as he entered the door, a man in the late Qi refinement stage came up to greet him. He wore white clothes with the 3 large words Myriad Treasure Tower engraved on his clothes. He was obviously a member of the Myriad Treasure Tower. This white-clothed man slightly scanned with his divine sense and discovered that Lu Kuan exuded the early foundation establishment stage mana. Thus, he respectfully said to Lu Kuan, So, with the foundation establishment stage senior, please go to the 2nd floor. The 2nd floor is specially prepared for foundation establishment stage seniors. Then this white-clothed man slightly looked at the 2 young disciples behind Lu Kuan. He was slightly puzzled, but he still led them upstairs. As for Little You, he could only stay on the 1st floor. However, he was not depressed. With a slightly perturbed mood, he estimated how many spirit stones this foundation establishment stage cultivator would spend. In the past, foundation establishment stage cultivators would spend about 2,000 to 3,000 spirit stones. This senior seems to have an extraordinary bearing and strong financial resources. Who knows, he might spend 5,000 to 6,000 spirit stones. If that's the case, I can at least get more than 200 spirit stones. This Feng Xinzi called Little You muttered endlessly downstairs. His expression became more and more excited, as if those few hundred spirit stones would be in his hands. Lu Kuan did not pay much attention to this Feng Xinzi at all. After entering the door, he immediately scanned with his divine sense and discovered that the artifacts and materials placed on the 1st floor by the Myriad Treasure Tower were all very exquisite. There were even a few artifacts that were comparable to the level of the Yang clan. Of course, the price was also more expensive. This made Lu Kuan feel a little more confident in the Myriad Treasure Tower. After walking through a staircase made of mahogany and passing through a corridor covered with restrictions, Lu Kuan and the two disciples came to a rather large room. At the same time, Lu Kuan felt a rather strong divine sense probing his body. It even produced some strange fluctuations. "How should I address you, fellow Taoist? I'm the manager of the Myriad Treasure Tower. I'm in charge of entertaining fellow Taoists in the Foundation establishment stage. No matter how much you buy, my Myriad Treasure Tower will definitely entertain you well." A man in a black robe with golden edges slowly walked forward. The dermic power fluctuations on his body were not weak, and he had the cultivation of middle-stage foundation establishment stage. He looked at Lu Kuan and spoke very enthusiastically. At the same time, he waved his hand to dismiss the white-robed man in the Qi refinement stage. Lu Kuan felt the words of this Myriad Treasure Tower manager and could not help but have a good impression of him. He cupped his fists and said, "My surname is Lu. Other than buying some high-quality refining materials, you also want a large number of middle-grade and above attack talismans." When this Myriad Treasure Tower manager heard the words high quality and large number, his eyes lit up and said, "Haha, fellow Taoist, you've chosen the right place. Our Myriad Treasure Tower does not dare to say anything else, but all kinds of Qi refinement materials are extremely high quality. Middle-grade talismans? There are even a lot of them. Come, fellow Taoist, this way." While talking, this black-robed manager brought Lu Kuan and the other two to a compartment and sat down. At the same time, a few mortal attendants served tea. The black-robed manager made a gesture of invitation and said, "Fellow Taoist, try our Myriad Treasure Tower's unique clear spirit tea first, and then we'll talk about the specific things you want to buy so that I can get someone to bring it over." Because this black-robed manager cultivated a technique, he had a detection ability that could see the attribute of the foundation establishment stage cultivator's dermic power. Therefore, he was sent to this Myriad Treasure Tower to be a manager. This way, he would not offend those powerful cultivators. Previously, when Lu Kuan had just gone upstairs, the deacon had used his divine sense to probe Lu Kuan and discovered that the strength of Lu Kuan's mana was similar to that of an ordinary early-stage foundation establishment cultivator. However, after using his divine sense to probe Lu Kuan, he could feel the power of lightning within his mana. This was obviously lightning elemental mana. This meant that this foundation establishment cultivator, surnamed Lu, not only had a lightning elemental root, but the technique he practiced was also an extremely rare lightning elemental technique. Lightning elemental was the most destructive type of elemental energy. Chapter 294. Lu Kuan didn't know what the deacon was thinking. He gently took a sip of the clear spirit tea and felt some spiritual energy flowing in his meridians, but his spiritual power wasn't in his meridians. Therefore, this kind of spirit tea that had some effect on ordinary cultivators had no effect on him. After drinking the clear spirit tea, his facial expression didn't change at all. Huang Xiaoyan, who was drinking tea, had a devil gold body, so the wood attribute's spiritual power in his body couldn't be improved, so the clear spirit tea didn't have any effect. After drinking the tea, the young boy just looked around curiously. Seeing this, the deacon also took a sip of the clear spirit tea and slightly absorbed the spiritual energy produced by the clear spirit tea. He secretly guessed Lu Kuan's identity. Ordinary cultivators who drink our clear spirit tea will show a happy expression, and even by some. This person, even a middle-stage Qi refinement young boy next to him, didn't show the slightest surprise. And he wants a lot of intermediate-level talismans and high-quality refining materials? Qi refinement materials are okay, but ordinary intermediate-level talismans? Foundation establishment cultivators won't buy too many. At most, they will have a few on them to deal with unexpected situations, and they will buy defensive spells. You want a lot of offensive talismans? Will there be a lot of battles recently? Just as the deacon was secretly guessing, Lu Kuan had finished the clear spirit tea in the cup and said, "It's best to have a ready-made clear spirit J bottle for refining. Offensive talismans? I only want intermediate-level top-grade talismans. As for the quantity, the more the better. When the deacon heard the first half of the sentence, he was still fine. The price of the congealed fat jade bottle was not cheap, but many cultivators with high cultivation would buy one. However, when he heard the second half of the sentence, he almost spat out his tea. His face was full of disbelief and asked, "Did I hear wrongly? Fellow Taoist, Lu wants intermediate-level top-grade talismans? And a lot?" Lu Kuan frowned and said, "Why don't you have intermediate-level top-grade talismans in the Thousand Treasure Tower?" The deacon's face changed a little, and even his tone became cold. He said, "There are, but fellow Taoist Lu, you're not joking, right? Intermediate-level top-grade talismans are expensive. It's not cheap. Just one of them costs 7,000 to 8,000 spirit stones. Some of them even cost tens of thousands of spirit stones. If fellow Taoist asked for one or two, our Myriad Treasure Tower wouldn't say anything. But fellow Taoist, you ask for a large number of middle-grade, top-grade talismans the moment you open your mouth? This." Lu Kuan chuckled and interrupted. "All the middle-grade, top-grade talismans? Bring it over. If there are any congealed fat jade bottles, bring them over as well." Seeing the deacon's dark face, Lu Kuan took out a bulging storage bag. He opened the bag and said, "Fellow Taoist, you're afraid that I, Lu, can't afford it, so you're only buying one or two. As for the spirit stones, I can let you see if I have enough." The black-robed deacon took a quick glance and was extremely shocked. Then he stood up and said in a slightly hurried tone, "Fellow Taoist Lu, please wait a moment. I'll go and bring the item over right now." After saying that, the black-clothed deacon hurriedly left with a complicated expression of shock and ecstasy. Lu Kuan continued to drink the second cup of tea. This person's reaction was completely within his expectations. From the battle of Shangqing's sect to the escape, Lu Kuan killed countless Foundation establishment cultivators. Not to mention the magic tools and materials, he had more than 2,000 middle-grade spirit stones, which was equivalent to more than 200,000 low-grade spirit stones. If it weren't for the fact that there were almost no spirit stones in Wang Sherdong's storage bag, Lu Kuan's spirit stones would be more than that. In the storage bag that he just showed to the black-clothed deacon, there were 1,000 middle-grade spirit stones. It should be known that an ordinary cultivator in the early stage of Foundation establishment would be quite rich if they had 100 middle-grade spirit stones on them. Therefore, the black-clothed deacon's face was full of shock. He couldn't figure out how Lu Kuan, an early-stage Foundation establishment cultivator, could have so many spirit stones. In fact, Lu Kuan certainly understood the principle of not showing off one's wealth. When he was still in the qi refining stage, he still remembered the scene of being chased by Foundation establishment cultivators. However, the situation now was not the same. There were very few core formation cultivators in the surrounding cultivation sects and clans. They must be in seclusion in their sects and wouldn't easily come out. In addition, Lu Kuan's current strength was very strong, so he dared to show these spirit stones to the deacon. If the people of the 10,000 Treasures Tower were greedy, facing an early-stage Foundation establishment cultivator like him, at most, 2 or 3 late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators would come after him after leaving the market square. As for Lu Kuan, who had spent a lot of spirit stones, he couldn't wait for more Foundation establishment stage cultivators to come after him. Under his and Little Gold's joint efforts, they could even take on the attacks of core formation stage cultivators. The ordinary Foundation establishment stage cultivators here were no match for him at all. Lu Kuan didn't think that there would be powerful Foundation establishment cultivators in the East Speeding State with ordinary spirit qi. The powerful ones must be in places with abundant spirit qi or overseas. Soon, the black-clothed deacon returned. At the same time, he had an extra storage bag in his hand. He said in a somewhat flattering tone, "Brother Lu, other than a few congealed jade bottles, I also brought all the mid-level top-grade talismans of the 10,000 Treasures Tower. I brought them over." Huang Xiaoyun listened to the change in tone of the black-clothed deacon and curled his lips in disdain. However, he was then attracted by the talismans shining with spiritual light on the wooden table in front of him. He was attracted. On the left side of the table, there were 3 milky white jade bottles. These 3 jade bottles looked abnormally sparkling and translucent. There was an exquisite wooden stopper at the mouth of the bottle. Each jade bottle emitted a faint fragrance. On the right side of the table, there were a dozen or so scattered talismans. There were all kinds of colors. Although the spells were sealed in the talismans, one could still feel the strong magic power fluctuations. Lu Kuan didn't care about the talismans at the side. First, he carefully checked the capacity of the milky white jade bottle. He gently shook it and knocked a few times. He nodded in satisfaction and said, "I want all 3 of these congealed jade bottles. What's the price?" The black-clothed man looked at Lu Kuan and said after pondering for a while, "Fellow Taoist Lu, we usually sell a congealed jade bottle for 2,000 spirit stones. If you want all 3, then we'll sell them to you for 5,500 spirit stones." Lu Kuan didn't answer. Instead, he looked at the dozen or so talismans at the side. He said, "These are mid-level top-grade talismans? Why don't you introduce them to me?" The black-clothed man quickly introduced, "This is a top-grade fire attribute spell, Raging Flame Spell Talisman. Its attack power is extremely strong. It can easily break the defensive barrier of a late-stage foundation establishment cultivator. This is the Great Cleaving Spell, a metal attribute spell. If used at the right time, it can kill an ordinary late-stage foundation establishment cultivator. There's also this water attribute spell, the top-grade Bone-Eroding Rain, a group spell." Listening to the black-clothed deacon's introduction, Lu Kuan silently estimated which spells were useful for tempering his current physical body. After the black-clothed man finished talking eloquently, he drank a mouthful of clear spirit tea and looked at Lu Kuan rather nervously. He just saw the spirit stones clearly and believed that Lu Kuan could definitely afford it. In the Myriad Treasure Tower, he didn't dare to force a sale. Besides, he might not be the other party's opponent. After selling this order, not only would he get a lot of spirit stones, but there would also be another reward for reporting this person's information. Lu Kuan thought for a while and chose 8 top-grade spells that might be useful for his physical body. He said, "These 8 spells, plus the 3 congealed jade bottles from before, I'll take them all." Chapter 295. When Lu Kuan heard this price, he did not continue to bargain. Instead, he said, "Fellow Taoist, this price is not a problem. However, I would like to inquire about a spiritual medicine. I wonder if the Wanbao Pavilion has it." The deacon in black was shocked and hurriedly said, "Brother Lu, I have been in the Wanbao Pavilion for many years. I have heard of almost all the spiritual medicines. Fellow Taoist, please ask." Lu Kuan played with the storage bag in his hand for a while and said, "Fellow Taoist, do you know about the blood coagulation grass?" The deacon in black was shocked when he heard this. Then, he used a secret technique to sense Lu Kuan's thunder magic power and frowned. Lu Kuan saw the deacon's expression. Obviously, the deacon knew about this herb, but did not know why he showed such an expression. He asked, "Is it not convenient for fellow Taoists to say?" The deacon in black shook his head and said, "Actually, I know about the blood coagulation grass that fellow Taoist is talking about. Not only me, but almost all the cultivators of Chu have heard about it." Lu Kuan did not seem to hear the deacon's emphasis on the words cultivators of Chu. Instead, he asked directly, "Is there something special about the blood coagulation grass?" "This is a necessary material for the blood coagulation pill. It is very rare. As long as this spiritual medicine appears in the outside world, it will be bought by the blood coagulation sect." Lu Kuan recalled the major sects of Chu and could not help but ask, "The blood coagulation sect? As far as I know, there is no blood coagulation sect in the top 10 sects of Chu." The deacon in black was now even more certain that Lu Kuan was not a cultivator of Chu. He explained, although the blood coagulation sect is not in the top 10 sects, there's a nascent soul stage cultivator in the sect. It is a mid-stage nascent soul stage cultivator. Therefore, its strength is only second to the top 10 sections. What kind of medicinal pill is the blood coagulation pill? From the name of this medicinal pill, is it unique to their sect? The deacon in black showed a somewhat nostalgic expression and said, "There is a story about the origin of this medicinal pill. It is said that tens of thousands of years ago, this sect was one of the 10 great sections. They had 5 nascent soul stage cultivators, each with extraordinary strength. They also had a lot more core formation stage cultivators than they do now. The technique they cultivate is called the Crimson Refining Devil Technique. It is an extremely powerful devil technique. Rumor has it that it is very difficult to break through a small realm, but as long as one has the help of the essence blood of an immortal cultivator, the chances of breaking through a large realm are extremely high. Moreover, the various divine abilities of this technique are extremely powerful. Back then, the cultivators of the Red Refining sect who cultivated this demonic technique were all ruthless characters who could fight above their ranks. If we ordinary cultivators want to advance to the foundation establishment stage, in addition to aptitude, we need the foundation establishment pill. Back then, the cultivators of the Red Refining sect only needed enough chi condensation stage cultivator's blood essence, and they could directly succeed in the foundation establishment stage through a blood sacrifice method and complete the initiation of the Red Refining demonic technique. Lu Kuan's expression changed slightly when he heard this. He suddenly remembered the blood sacrifice method of the Murong Old Ghost. That blood sacrifice method was still in the depths of his storage bag. It was very similar to the Red Refining sect, but the old ghost changed it to use the Vajra spell cultivators to replace the immortal cultivators. The deacon in black did not notice Lu Kuan's abnormality. Instead, he continued in a somewhat envious tone. Although these cultivators have entered the foundation establishment stage, it is very difficult for them to cultivate the Red Refining demonic technique. However, as long as they can cultivate to the great completion of the foundation establishment stage, the chances of forming a core are very high. Back then, the peak foundation establishment cultivators of the Red Refining sect could almost successfully form a core as long as they had enough foundation establishment stage cultivators' blood essence and used a high-level blood sacrifice method. Lu Kuan cut in. If that's the case, this sect has to kill even more cultivators in order to become stronger. The deacon in black said, "That's right. In fact, if the Red Refining sect at that time was still here, the overseas area would definitely be the best place for them to secretly kill immortal cultivators. It would be very difficult to be discovered. It's a pity that the Chu state at that time had not yet developed overseas. They could only secretly hunt all kinds of cultivators in the country. They even set up an immortal cultivator killer organization. However, as the Red Refining sect became more and more powerful, the cultivators of the other sects gradually found clues. In the end, all the other sects joined forces and almost destroyed the Red Refining sect directly. However, for some reason, the killer organization was destroyed and the Red Refining sect was left. However, the original Red Refining demonic technique was all destroyed, leaving only an improved version of the Red Refining demonic technique. Although the blood sacrifice part of the Red Refining demonic technique has been modified, several magical powers of the technique are still not small. It is easier to break through small realms. The people of the Red Refining sect still want to major in this demonic technique. There is no blood sacrifice in the Red Refining demonic technique, so they can only use the foundation establishment pill to build their foundation. However, they later found that the immortal cultivators who used the foundation establishment pill to build their foundation could not cultivate the Red Refining demonic technique for some reason. After a period of time, the Red Refining demonic technique was almost lost. The strength of the Red Refining sect became weaker and weaker. Until 10,000 years ago, there was a cultivator who was proficient in alchemy in the Red Refining sect. He developed a pill called the Scarlet Blood Essence Pill. Lu Kuan couldn't help but ask. They used this Scarlet Blood Essence Pill to replace the Foundation Establishment Pill. The deacon in black nodded and said, "Yes, if you use the Scarlet Blood Essence Pill to replace the Foundation Establishment Pill to advance to the Foundation Establishment stage, you can completely cultivate the Red Refining demonic technique." The blood coagulation grass that you mentioned is one of the main ingredients of the scarlet blood essence pill. So in the past 10,000 years, the red refining sect has been frantically purchasing the blood coagulation grass. Many cultivators in the sect have cultivated the red refining demonic technique, and the sect has gradually become stronger. Lu Kuan suddenly realized that it was precisely because of the importance of the blood refining grass to the red refining sect that the red refining sect had a great demand for it. However, he still asked unwillingly, "Do you have the blood coagulation grass here?" The deacon in black sighed and said, "The blood coagulation grass is relatively rare. Even if we have stock, it would have been bought by the people of the red refining sect." Then he asked again, "How old is the blood coagulation grass that you want?" Lu Kuan wondered, is there an age requirement for the blood coagulation grass collected by the red refining sect? Of course there is an age requirement. Therefore, since the blood refining sect developed the elixir, the Chu country, including several surrounding countries, has had fewer and fewer blood coagulation grass of some years. It is said that the scarlet blood essence pill used for the foundation establishment stage needs 200 years old blood coagulation grass. Since the red refining sect has developed the elixir to replace the blood sacrifice for the foundation establishment stage, then the elixir to replace the blood sacrifice for the core formation stage has also been developed. That elixir also needs the blood coagulation grass, but it needs to be 500 years old. The growth requirements of the blood refining grass are extremely special. It cannot be planted on its own. It can only appear in some special places. If ordinary cultivators get the blood coagulation grass, they would have already taken it to the red refining sect in exchange for a large number of spirit stones. They would not sell it at will. Lu Kuan murmured, "This is difficult. What's wrong with you? Don't you need the blood coagulation grass for the red refining sect?" "I need the blood refining grass for another purpose. In that case, I will choose another herb." Chapter 296. Lu Kuan nodded and ended his inquiry about the blood refining grass. He looked at the black-robed attendant's flickering eyes and sneered in his heart. "By the way, Taoist Huang, does the Wan Bao Pavilion accept spiritual immortal treasures?" The attendant hurriedly nodded and revealed a fawning expression. "Of course we do. Our Wan Bao Pavilion also has a nascent soul cultivator. As long as Taoist Huang's item is good, we will accept it regardless of its origin." Lu Kuan looked at the attendant and took out a storage pouch. "There are some spiritual immortal treasures in here. Taoist Huang, please appraise them and see how many spirit stones they are worth." The attendant took the storage pouch and carefully examined it. After a while, his expression changed. He had been in the Wan Bao Pavilion for many years and had a way of appraising spiritual immortal treasures. The magic tools in this storage bag were the kind that ordinary foundation establishment cultivators used. They weren't particularly good, but after he used his divine sense to examine them, he discovered that each of these magic tools seemed to have been refined with a different method. It was obvious that these spiritual immortal treasures were obtained by killing others. This early foundation establishment cultivator, surnamed Lu, killed 7 early foundation establishment cultivators and 2 mid-foundation establishment cultivators. His strength is quite strong. He should be stronger than an ordinary mid-foundation establishment cultivator, but slightly weaker than a late foundation establishment cultivator. This is similar to my initial judgment. In that case, it would only take 2 late foundation establishment cultivators to suppress him. If it were 3 late foundation establishment cultivators, he would not be able to escape. As the attendant examined the spiritual immortal treasures in the storage pouch, various thoughts appeared in his mind. From the conversation about the blood coagulation grass, he had discovered that Lu Kuan was not from the Chu country, but from another country. This caused the black-robed deacon to have some thoughts. Moreover, Lu Kuan did not even know about the famous scarlet refining sect in the state of Chu. Therefore, his identity as a rogue cultivator was not wrong. If he was a disciple of a large sect, his elders would have told him about the sect before he came to the state of Chu. Therefore, the attendant judged that Lu Kuan was a rogue cultivator from another country or a disciple of a declining family. He relied on his powerful talent and cultivation method to cultivate alone and was extremely valuable. As a result, he naturally became greedy. Coupled with the artifacts that were thrown to him, it was easier for him to judge Lu Kuan's strength, and he was more confident in making a move. With such good talent, you are actually a rogue cultivator and want to use the spiritual immortal treasures in the storage pouch to intimidate me. I really don't know if you're smart or stupid. The attendant lowered his head and sneered, but did not notice Lu Kuan's slightly raised the corners of his mouth. After a while, the attendant made his decision and began to discuss the price with Lu Kuan. The way Lu Kuan's way. Lu Kuan acted as if he knew nothing about the black-clothed deacon's thoughts. He bargained with him and offered him 35,000 spirit stones in exchange for 8 middle-grade, high-grade talismans, which he didn't care for. He bought it along with the 3 jade bottles. After the 10,000 treasure towers, black-clothed deacon and Lu Kuan exchanged some pleasantries. He personally led them downstairs. At the same time, Xiao Yu, who was downstairs, was a bit worried. Lu Kuan had gone up for too long. It had been more than 2 hours. How could an ordinary foundation establishment cultivator buy such a long time? Soon, Lu Kuan and the others came down. Fellow Taoist Huang, I'm going to take a stroll around the other parts of the market. There's no need to see me off. The deacon in black nodded and cupped his fists. In that case, fellow Taoist Lu, we'll meet again. See you again. Lu Kuan patted Xiao Yu, who was waiting at the side, and said, Don't worry. Xiao Yu, why are you in a daze? Bring us around the market. Little Yu, who was a little confused, only reacted after being patted by Lu Kuan. He muttered, Isn't that the 10,000 treasure towers black-clothed deacon? Yes, what's wrong? This sluggish chi refinement realm cultivator's expression became a bit excited. He took Lu Kuan and walked outside. At the same time, he secretly glanced at the cultivators on the first floor of the Myriad Treasure Tower and suddenly asked Lu Kuan, May I ask, how many things did Senior buy upstairs? Lu Kuan's face turned cold, and he said in a cold voice, Is this something you can ask? Ah, Senior, I've offended you. It's just that Deacon Huang usually only receives some cultivators in the late stage of foundation establishment. I didn't expect that he would personally come down to see Senior off. I was curious. Please forgive me. When Xiaoyu heard Lu Kuan's cold voice, he was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. He just saw the black-clothed deacon sending them off and guessed that Lu Kuan had bought a lot of things. So he forgot this taboo in his excitement. Lu Kuan's expression relaxed, and he stepped out of the 10,000 treasure towers door and said lightly, I bought more than 30,000 spirit stones of things, but it's still a little short. Quickly take me to the store's second, only to the 10,000 treasure tower. Ah, okay, Senior, wait for me. When Xiaoyu heard the number of more than 30,000, he was so surprised that he almost fell down in front of the 10,000 treasure towers door. This meant that the 10,000 treasure tower could give him more than 1,000 spirit stones, which was half the value of the foundation establishment pill. So when he heard that Lu Kuan wanted to go to other stores to buy things, his face flushed with excitement. He bowed with a flattering expression and ran to the front to lead Lu Kuan to the next store. When Lu Kuan went out, the black-clothed deacon had already arrived at the 5th floor of the 10,000 treasure tower. No guests were allowed here, and only the steward of the 10,000 treasure tower could enter. At this time, the black-clothed deacon respectfully reported something to an old man at the head of the table. This old man's magic power was vigorous, and he was a cultivator at the peak of the late stage of foundation establishment. After about half an hour, the black-clothed deacon finished his report. The late-stage old man said, So, this person's thunder attribute cultivation method should have the strength of a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator? The black-clothed deacon replied, Yes, so I think that if my 2 cousins were to make a move, they would be able to take him down. No matter how strong his thunder attribute cultivation method is, he would not be able to do anything against 2 late-stage foundation establishment cultivators. Where is he now? He should be going to the other stores to buy some mid-grade, top-grade talismans. That Feng Xinzi called Xiao Yu is following him. Uncle, you don't have to worry. When we were going downstairs, I unknowingly used our family's unique tracking technique on his trousers. With his early-stage foundation establishment divine sense, he would definitely not be able to discover it. The old man stood up and paced back and forth. He said coldly, "To ensure that nothing goes wrong, I will make a trip too. If the two of them fail, my 10,000 treasure tower will be in some trouble." Hearing this, the black-clothed deacon revealed a look of joy. He said, "With Uncle's help, that Lu brat will definitely not be able to escape." The old man waved his hand. "Go inform your two cousins and get them to take out 2 magic tools that are resistant to thunder and lightning. This way, the battle will be easier." "Yes, Uncle." After saying that, the black-clothed deacon excitedly went downstairs. He was very excited. This time, he had sent a fat fish to the family. If he could take it down, he would definitely get a share of the profits. Chapter 297. After Lu Kuan left the 10,000 Treasures Tower, he didn't care about the 10,000 Treasures Tower. Instead, he was thinking about the Red Refining Sect. From a description of the 10,000 Treasures Tower's deacon, the blood coagulation grass that was 200 years old was very rare, and 500 years old was even rarer. The blood marrow powder on a psychic puppet was used on the puppets of the core formation stage. Needless to say, the effect of the blood marrow powder made from 500 years old blood coagulation grass would definitely be much better. It seems that I have to have the idea of this red refining sect. I want to carve a whole body spirit controlling formation. According to the description of the psychic puppet technique, I need at least 8 stalks. Lu Kuan had a headache when he thought of the amount of blood coagulation grass he needed. The Red Refining Sect had nascent soul stage cultivators. Even if their strength was comparable to the former Yang clan, it was not much worse. It was even more difficult for him to obtain the blood coagulation grass from there. "Xiao Yu, which shop are we going to next?" Lu Kuan suddenly asked Feng Xinzi. Xiao Yu immediately said, "Senior, the next one is the Golden Forest Pavilion." "Then do you have the most comprehensive sect map and relevant introduction of the Chu country?" Yes. Lu Kuan nodded and followed Xiao Yu to the shop called Golden Forest Pavilion. After half a day, Lu Kuan finished visiting several of the largest shops. Finally, he appeared outside a simple brick house in the depths of Nanfo Market. Xiao Yu was carefully and rhythmically knocking on the small gray door in front of him. After a while, a rather burly man appeared behind the door. He had the cultivation of a late Qi refining stage. He looked at Lu Kuan and the others with a vigilant gaze. However, when he saw Xiao Yu, his gaze became a bit more relaxed. Xiao Yu immediately stepped forward and said with a bit of flattery, "Brother Fong, this senior Lu wants to participate in today's trade fair." The burly man with the surname Fong cupped his fist to Lu Kuan and said, "So it's the senior introduced by Xiao Yu. Senior, please come in. The next trade fair will begin soon." Little Yu said to Lu Kuan, "Senior, I can only escort you here. I can't go in." Lu Kuan made a sound of acknowledgement and led the 2 slightly nervous youths into the small, gray door. Then, under the guidance of the man with the surname Fong, they walked into a passageway that was covered with restrictions. While passing through the passageway, the man with the surname Fong took out 3 black masks. The masks were covered with dense patterns and even had some array patterns. The masks only revealed the eyes, nose, and mouth. "Senior, you must wear this mask during the trade fair. With it, even a peak foundation establishment stage divine sense would not be able to see your true face." Lu Kuan carefully observed the formation patterns on the mask, then looked at the restrictions in the passageway. He seemed to be in deep thought. The 3 of them put on their masks and walked forward. After a while, they came to a rather bright hall. At this time, there were already more than 10 foundation establishment stage cultivators sitting in the hall. Lu Kuan took a rough look. At least half of the people were in the early stage of the foundation establishment stage. There were a few in the middle stage of the foundation establishment stage, and even 2 in the late stage of the foundation establishment stage. Then he picked an empty seat and sat down. Huang Xiaoyan and Little Pan Yin stood behind Lu Kuan. Seeing so many foundation establishment stage cultivators at once, these two seemed to be more well-behaved. Lu Kuan saw that the trade fair had not started yet, so he took out a jade slip from the storage bag and looked at it carefully. This jade slip was the location map of the sect he bought. After a simple check, he found the location of the red refining sect. Then Lu Kuan showed a strange expression because the red refining sect was stationed in a place not far from the overseas land. Just like what the 10,000 Treasure Towers deacons said, the overseas area was especially suitable for assassinating immortal cultivators in secret because in the depths of the ocean, the number of demonic beasts was extremely large. Every year, countless human immortal cultivators died in the hands of demonic beasts. If the red refining demonic technique of the red refining sect from tens of thousands of years ago had not been lost, it would definitely be a good place to cultivate this demonic technique. Some of the Qi refining perfection cultivators of the red refining sect may have the 200-year-old blood coagulation grass, and the 500-year-old blood coagulation grass must be in the hands of the late stage of the foundation establishment stage, or the foundation establishment stage cultivators. According to that person, the red demonic technique left by the red refining sect is amazingly powerful. I just don't know how it compares with my Imperial Thunderbody refining technique. Just as Lu Kuan was thinking, a foundation establishment stage divine sense probed the jade slip in Lu Kuan's hand. It seemed to be quite curious about what he was looking at. Humph! Lu Kuan snorted coldly, and the peak of the middle stage of the foundation establishment stage flashed away from his body. He unceremoniously bounced this divine sense away. He looked along this divine sense and saw a thin man in a black robe. Under the rebound of Lu Kuan's extremely condensed divine sense, his eyes were quite dim. Many people present felt Lu Kuan's powerful divine sense that flashed away, and they all showed a little fear of him. The cultivation base of the early stage of the foundation establishment stage had such a powerful divine sense. If it was not a talent, it was a special cultivation method. No matter which point it was, it showed that this person was a core figure in the nearby sect or family. Unfortunately, they could not see his face, so they could not guess the true identity of Lu Kuan. Even the two cultivators of the late stage of the foundation establishment stage looked at Lu Kuan several times, but it was not easy to guess anything just by looking at the figure. Lu Kuan turned a blind eye to the other people's secret observation. As his strength grew, it was very difficult for ordinary foundation establishment stage cultivators to give him a strong pressure. It was better to show a part of his strength at this time. Right at this moment, an extremely enchanting young woman wearing a long black dress leisurely walked over. Her curves were exquisite, and even that loose robe was unable to hide her proud figure. A look of surprise flashed past Lu Kuan's eyes. The mana fluctuations on this young woman's body were extremely powerful, and she had the cultivation base of the great circle of the foundation establishment stage. He then looked at the other foundation establishment stage cultivators, and many of the male cultivators' eyes revealed expressions of greed and fear. Lu Kuan could not help but think, no wonder little you said that this place was built by a power even stronger than the 10,000 Treasures Tower. From the cultivation base of the woman presiding over the trade fair, one can see the whole picture. The young woman quickly walked to the center of the hall. She laughed lightly, and a mature and extremely charming voice came out from her plump lips. Everyone is a regular customer. I, the Fire Lady, will not introduce myself. As usual, we will first auction some of the fine products in our hands, and everyone can start trading with each other. The young woman saw that no one below was teasing her, and she laughed lightly and clapped with her small jade hands. Clap, clap, clap. A mortal woman held a jade plate with both hands and walked up. On top of the plate was a copper hammer that radiated spiritual light. Grade 2 spiritual immortal artifact, Golden Blaze Hammer. The starting bid is 6,000 spirit stones, and each increment is no less than 500. 6,000. 6,500. Lu Kuan glanced at it briefly, and then lost interest. This kind of magic tool that was refined with a relatively crude method couldn't enter his discerning eyes. He had purchased a total of 18 middle-grade, top-grade magic charms from several other shops before this. However, it was still not enough for him. As the auction progressed, magic tools and materials were sold one after another. Finally, 5 middle-grade, top-grade talismans appeared at the end of the auction. These are 5 mid-grade, top-grade talismans. They came from the hands of a talisman crafting grandmaster at the Perfection of Foundation establishment. They're all mid-grade, top-grade magic arts, raging flame art. The starting bid is 9,000 spirit stones, and each increment is no less than 1,000. It was unknown if it was Lu Kuan's misconception, but this young woman, called Fire Lady, was explaining these talismans. When she spoke, she revealed a somewhat complacent expression. 9,000 spirit stones. 10,000 spirit stones. Lu Kuan carefully used his divine sense to sense these few raging flame talismans and discovered that they were even better than the ones he bought at the 10,000 Treasures Tower. He stretched his body on the chair and said lazily, 80,000 spirit stones. I want all 5 of these talismans. Chapter 298. Not only the Foundation establishment stage cultivators present, but even the young woman called Hua Meinyang, who was hosting the event, had her mouth slightly open, revealing an extremely surprised expression. Lu Kuan didn't care about the shocked, greedy, and suspicious gazes of the others. He calmly said, Fairy, since no one is raising the bid, you can start the countdown. Hua Meinyang could be considered as a cultivator who had seen the world. She recovered in the blink of an eye. She took a deep look at Lu Kuan and realized that this cultivator's body and voice were unfamiliar. It should be his first time attending this trade fair. She thought for a bit and said, since this fellow Taoist is bidding 80,000 spirit stones for 5 talismans, is there anyone else who is willing to bid for each talisman? 16,000 spirit stones. The Fire Lady looked around and found that no one wanted to bid. She began to count down. 80,000 going once, 80,000 going twice. Wait, just as the Fire Lady was counting down, the skinny man from before stood up and said in a strange tone, Fire Lady, I don't believe an early-stage Foundation establishment cultivator can take out 80,000 spirit stones in one go. Fellow Taoist, don't you want to check? This fellow Taoist is right. We also don't believe he can take out 80,000 spirit stones. That's right. We have more than 10,000 spirit stones at most. He can't have that many spirit stones. The Fire Lady saw that so many people were talking and stopped hawking. She looked at Lu Kuan, who was still half lying on the chair, and said, Fellow Taoist, since so many people are saying this, why don't you take out your spirit stones for everyone to see? Lu Kuan sneered and said, Fairy, that's not right. If you want to check my spirit stones in private, then I, Lu, will have no complaints. But now you want me to show my spirit stones to everyone here? That's too much. I, Lu, am not a pushover. At the same time, a crackling sound echoed as a fist-sized purple lightning ball appeared in front of Lu Kuan, who was half reclining in his chair. It emitted a destructive aura and had the fluctuations of an intermediate or mid-tier spell. What? Instant cast thunder attribute spell. Heterogeneous spiritual roots. This thunderball has the power of an intermediate high-grade spell, at the very least. No wonder he's so fearless. It turns out that he's so powerful. Seeing the looks of shock on the faces of the surrounding cultivators, Lu Kuan's hand flashed with light, and the ball of lightning gradually disappeared. It was as though it had never appeared in the first place. After the Fire Lady saw Lu Kuan disperse the thunderball, she also dispersed the vigorous mana she had gathered. Although this early-stage Foundation establishment stage cultivator in front of her was not weak, she did not take him seriously with her cultivation at the great circle of Foundation establishment stage. What she was afraid of was that if there was a conflict, other cultivators would be injured and her reputation at the trade fair would be affected. The enchanting young woman pondered for a moment and said, I didn't think it through. How about this? As long as fellow Taoist takes out 80,000 spirit stones, these 5 mid-tier, top-tier talismans will belong to fellow Taoist. In order to compensate fellow Taoist, I'll give fellow Taoist 5 mid-tier, top-tier talismans. She had thought it through very clearly. This Rellingan cultivator in front of her was just embarrassing her. With her cultivation at the great circle of foundation establishment stage, as long as she gave him a way out, there should be no problem. If he really used 80,000 spirit stones to buy 5 mid-tier, top-tier talismans, even if the 5 talismans were included, they would still make a big profit. The thin man who spoke first sat back in his seat when he saw Lu Kuan instantly cast a lightning-type magic technique. Now, regardless of whether Lu Kuan could take out spirit stones or not, he had already incurred enmity with Lu Kuan. Lu Kuan's divine sense was stronger than his, and coupled with the Rellingan cultivator, he did not think he was a match for Lu Kuan even if he was at the mid-tier foundation establishment stage. Now, he could only pray that the mask on his face was really as useful as they said. Lu Kuan heard the young woman say that she would give mid-tier talismans. Then, he revealed a satisfied expression. He fumbled around his waist and took out a storage pouch. He threw it over and said, "Fairy, can you give me the talismans? Give them to me." The Fire Lady caught the storage pouch and swept it with her divine sense. She was stunned. Then, she glanced at Lu Kuan and was extremely surprised. There were no less than 800 mid-tier spirit stones inside. Using mid-tier spirit stones meant that the other party had more spirit stones on him. Generally, cultivators would give priority to using low-tier spirit stones in transactions. The Fire Lady put away the storage pouch. Then, with a flash of spiritual light, another 5 talismans appeared in her hand. Looking at their fluctuations, they were also fire-type magic technique talismans. Fellow Taoist, I apologize. These talismans? Fellow Taoist, please accept them. Seeing the Fire Lady give the 10 talismans to Lu Kuan, all the cultivators knew that Lu Kuan had genuinely taken out 80,000 spirit stones. Then, thinking of his Rellingan innate talent, they all labeled him as a core disciple of a great clan or sect. They were not willing to provoke him. Lu Kuan took the talismans from the Fire Lady's hand. He took them in his hand and carefully examined them. They looked very similar, and there was a faint fragrance coming from them. Could it be that this Fire Lady is that Foundation Establishment Talisman Grandmaster? With this thought, Lu Kuan couldn't help but raise his head and look at the young woman. The Fire Lady seemed to know what Lu Kuan was thinking and smiled sweetly at him. Then, she turned around and said to the other cultivators with different expressions, "Next is the time for the exchange. Who wants to come up first?" As soon as she finished speaking, she saw Lu Kuan walk up. I didn't expect fellow Taoist to be so impatient. Fellow Taoist, you only need to tell everyone what you want and what you want to exchange for it. Seeing Lu Kuan go up, many people showed slight anticipation. Previously, this person had already shown his wealth and strength. If he wanted to exchange for something, what he took out would definitely not be bad. Lu Kuan's hands flashed with spiritual light, and 2 long sabers with handles flashing with white light appeared in his hands. At the same time, he said, "Level 2 magic tool set, illustrious spirit saber, in exchange for a 200-year-old blood coagulation grass." Level 2 magic tool set, blood coagulation grass. Fairy, please demonstrate this set of magic tools. My magic power in the early stage of Foundation establishment is not enough to unleash the full power of the 2nd level set of magic tools. Lu Kuan passed the dual blades to Huamei Nyang and asked her to demonstrate it to everyone. The Fire Lady nodded and waved her hand. Spiritual light flashed, and in an instant, the 2 sabers combined into a light red, flat saber. The aura it emitted was extremely shocking. The Fire Lady felt the power of the magic tool and restored it to its original state. She said with certainty, "This fellow Taoist's illustrious spirit saber is indeed a level 2 magic tool set. Moreover, its quality is not low." Hearing the Fire Lady's evaluation, the people below immediately began to discuss. Many people were extremely tempted. In the Dongxi province, there weren't many master refiners. It was rare for a spiritual magic tool set to appear, let alone a level 2 spiritual magic tool set. However, what the other party wanted was blood coagulation grass. Once this kind of medicinal herb appeared, it would be bought at a high price by various large trading companies. It was extremely rare. If one were to compare it with this set of magic tools, it was hard to say which one was more valuable. After a while, Lu Kuan saw that the cultivators below didn't want to make a deal. He sighed and planned to take back the magic tool set. Wait, I have blood coagulation grass. However, in addition to fellow Daoist set of magic tools, I also want a mid-grade, top-grade talisman. A masked woman with a mid-stage foundation, establishment stage, cultivation walked forward and spoke with a crisp voice. She sounded quite young. Fellow Daoist must be joking. A mid-grade, top-grade talisman? Coupled with this set of magic tools, its value far surpasses blood coagulation grass. Lu Kuan shook his head violently. This was clearly a loss. He wouldn't make such a deal. Then he saw the masked woman walk in front of him. A dark red, 5-inch-long medicinal herb appeared in her hand. Fellow Daoist, look carefully. This is a 300-year-old blood coagulation grass. An ordinary 200-year-old one is only 3 inches long. This caused Lu Kuan to hesitate. He had purchased ancient books related to blood coagulation grass from other shops. Of course, he could see that the blood coagulation grass in front of him was more than 300 years old. Lu Kuan muttered to himself for a moment. Then, with a wave of his hand, a purple light screen enveloped him and the masked woman. The people in the hall looked at the lightning-type light screen with lightning circulating around it. Even the fire lady didn't have any intention of probing it. Soon, the purple light screen disappeared, revealing Lu Kuan and the mid-stage foundation establishment woman. Both of them had satisfied expressions. It seemed that everyone was happy. Chapter 299. This blood coagulation grass is enough for me to refine blood marrow powder once. It's more than 300 years old. It should be enough. Lu Kuan stood on a white spirit shuttle, playing with a light red herb in his hand. He looked at the scenery flying by and muttered to himself. He used the spoils of war from the battle against the Qing sect and the 4 intermediate and intermediate grade spirit talismans gifted by the Fire Lady to successfully exchange for the more than 300 years old blood coagulation grass. In the following trade fair, the items that the Foundation establishment stage cultivators used to trade were not of interest to Lu Kuan at all, with the value of killing several late-stage cultivators. After the trade fair ended, Lu Kuan left with his 2 disciples. Now, they had already flown out of the market. Huang Xiaoyan stood beside Lu Kuan. After looking at the spirit shuttle carefully, he said to Lu Kuan, "Master, these Foundation establishment stage cultivators of the trade fair actually didn't follow us. Master's body shape is not easy to track, but Xiao Yin and I have yet to enter the Qi refinement stage and the middle stage of the Qi refinement stage, so we can be recognized." Lu Kuan casually controlled the spirit shuttle and said indifferently, "We are going to leave here soon. Let them track us." While talking, Lu Kuan patted the spirit beast bag on his waist and released Xiao Jin. He continued, "Xiao Yun, there may be a battle later. At that time, you should stay away. With your senior brother here, there won't be too much danger." When Huang Xiaoyan heard Lu Kuan say this, his eyes rolled and revealed a bit of wretchedness. Feeling the slow flying speed of the flying boat, he whispered, "I understand. Master's previous actions at the 1,000 Treasure Tower were to let them send people to deal with Master." Lu Kuan couldn't help but reveal a bit of surprise. He asked curiously, "Xiao Yun, what else do you know?" Huang Xiaoyan appeared to be quite excited. He looked around and said, "Master first spent a lot of money to buy things. Tens of thousands of spirit stones. I don't think Wanbao Lu has seen other Foundation establishment stage cultivators do this. Next, he will secretly guess Master's identity, but coincidentally, Master asked about the blood coagulation grass and the red refining sect. The 10,000 Treasure Towers deacon can infer that Master is a cultivator from other places, and Master doesn't know about the red refining sect. Obviously, the elders of the sect don't have relevant information. This way, he would think that Master is a foreign cultivator with no background. The more Huang Xiaoyan spoke, the more excited he became. His face was flushed. Master, you are really sinister. Step by step, you lured that person into thinking of killing him and robbing him of his treasures. In the end, the pile of artifacts that you sold to him was the last straw. The myriad treasure towers deacon can judge Master's approximate strength through those artifacts obtained from killing and seizing treasures. Hee, it's a pity that he doesn't know that the artifact Master took out is only a portion, so he will misjudge Master's strength. Lu Kuan looked at Huang Xiaoyan with some surprise. He didn't expect that this 10-year-old child could see so clearly. Moreover, the 10,000 Treasure Towers deacon probably thinks that Master's move is to demonstrate to him and let him not act rashly. This can make him put down the last trace of fear. So the deacon still gave a lot of concessions in the price. I guess he has already sent some Foundation Establishment Stage cultivators to track Master. It's a pity that he doesn't know that Master can even take the attack of a Core Formation Stage cultivator. Even if 2 or 3 Foundation Establishment Stage cultivators come, they are not Master's opponent and will be killed one by one. TSK, the 10,000 Treasure Tower seems to be rich. Spirit stones delivered to the door. Huang Xiaoyan smacked his lips, and his expression revealed a bit of wretchedness, as if he had already gotten the spirit stones. Lu Kuan could only shake his head when he saw this, and said with emotion, I didn't expect that this escape would make you so cunning. This way, I'm a lot more relieved about you. When we settle down overseas, you can go out alone to gain experience. Little Pan, Yin scratched his head. He didn't understand what Huang Xiaoyan said at all. He roughly understood that Master wanted to kill the cultivators who chased over and robbed their spirit stones. The brat said righteously, Master, they have no enmity with us. Why do you want to kill them? Besides, they definitely can't catch up to us. Master, let's fly faster. Lu Kuan sighed and touched little Pan Yan's head and said, Little Yin, remember, the cultivation world is a world where the strong preys on the weak. If you want to let others go, others won't let you go. If there's a chance to obtain resources, you must not let it go. Little Pan, Yin revealed a somewhat confused expression. Just as he was about to say something, Lu Kuan's hand gently tapped the back of little Pan Yan's neck. With his precise control of strength, the little guy directly fainted on the spirit shuttle. Lu Kuan said helplessly, This little guy's habit still hasn't changed. Xiaoyan, you have to teach him more in the future. According to little Yan's personality, if he roams the cultivation world alone, where the strong preys on the weak and benefits are paramount, he probably won't be able to live for more than a few months before being tricked. When Huang Xiaoyan heard this, he immediately said with a sad face, Master, you've given me a difficult problem. Squeak, squeak. Right at this moment, little Gold cried out from the side. Lu Kuan sneered and said, There are 3 cultivators chasing after us. It's very likely that they are 3 late Foundation Establishment Stage cultivators. If it was my first Foundation Establishment Stage strength, I might not have one even if I used all my means, but now it's completely different. Then Lu Kuan said to the little monkey, Xiao Jin, control the spirit shuttle and land in the forest ahead. Take Xiao Yun and little Yin away. Squeak, squeak. I know you want to fight to vent your grievances in the land of death. Don't worry, I'll leave you one. Squeak, squeak. After talking to Xiao Jin, Lu Kuan directly jumped down from the spirit shuttle in the sky. Every time he fell, a purple light would explode under his feet, slowing down his landing speed. After repeating this several times, he landed steadily on the ground. Xiao Jin also controlled the spirit shuttle to the side of the forest. Not long after that, Lu Kuan's golden eye caught sight of a yellow flying arc hurtling toward him from afar. There were 3 cultivators on the arc, one of whom was an elderly man while the other 2 were middle-aged men. Soon, the light yellow flying boat landed not far in front of Lu Kuan. The 3 cultivators looked at Lu Kuan in surprise. It was obvious that Lu Kuan was here waiting for someone, but they didn't know if he was waiting for them or someone else. Lu Kuan looked at these three late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators and revealed a trace of a smile as he said, "Fellow Taoists from the Myriad Treasure Tower, I wonder what matter you have specially come to find this, Lu. How do you know we are from the Thousand Treasure Tower?" One of the middle-aged men in white asked in surprise. This fellow Taoist is really straightforward. I didn't know at first, but now I know. Lu Kuan almost laughed out loud when he heard this question. However, this was also the effect he wanted. When this sentence came out, both sides had to fight to the death. Otherwise, if word got out, the Thousand Treasure Tower would not be able to do business anymore. "Don't talk nonsense with him, attack." Sure enough, the old man's face changed, and he directly summoned a 5-feet-long mace magic weapon to attack Lu Kuan. The two men who heard the old man's instructions also surged with spiritual power. They each summoned a flying sword flashing with spiritual light. They looked quite similar and were likely to be a pair of magic weapons. Come on, this time I can finally fight with all my might. Chapter 300. Most early-stage Foundation establishment cultivators. Not to mention 3 late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators. Even if they encountered one, they would run away immediately or use all their means and take comprehensive defensive measures. Therefore, when the 3 cultivators of the 10,000 Treasures Tower saw Lu Kuan's behavior, they all felt that it was ridiculous. A mere early-stage Foundation establishment cultivator, although he was a Relian cultivator and was not weak, actually dared to face the attack of 3 late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators head-on. Moreover, looking at his expression, there was not the slightest bit of fear. They unconsciously increased their dermic powers and controlled their respective dermic artifacts. The 3 spiritual dermic artifacts were connected together. That powerful might was something that even an ordinary perfected Foundation establishment cultivator would not dare to face head-on. But Lu Kuan was not an ordinary cultivator. He was a physique cultivator that had never appeared in the cultivation world. Previously, when he fought with Wang Shitong's Foundation establishment zombie and joined forces with Xiao Jin to block the attack of a core formation cultivator's dermic artifact, Lu Kuan had a direct understanding of his current strength. So what if there are 3 late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators? I, a physique cultivator, am not afraid. Lu Kuan's eyes were filled with fanaticism. He wanted to display his true strength after refining his physique cultivator in this battle. Traces of lightning emerged from his body. His thick arms danced rapidly with 2 lightning hammers, wildly hammering the 3 spiritual dermic artifacts. Clang, clang, clang. Accompanied by countless crisp sounds of collision, waves of invisible energy erupted from the center of the artifacts. For a moment, dust flew everywhere. Boom! After a while, a huge roar sounded. The power of the 3 artifacts of the 10,000 Treasures Tower cultivators was gradually consumed. Then, Lu Kuan's lightning hammers sent them flying with a heavy blow. And Lu Kuan's burly body also seemed to be unable to withstand the huge power of the opponent's artifacts. Borrowing the last blow, he slid back a full 30 feet, cushioning the impact. 2 deep scratches appeared on the ground. Puff! Lu Kuan spat out a mouthful of blood, but his aura didn't weaken in the slightest. On the contrary, there was a look of excitement on his face. At this moment, the surface of his muscles was covered with a layer of purple shield. It was completely different from the magical power shield of ordinary immortal cultivators. It was tightly attached to his body. If one looked closely, this shield even had lightning flowing through it. It was very mysterious. It doesn't burn any magic power. What a strange cultivation method. What kind of secret technique is this? Why do I feel like I'm fighting a class 4 demonic beast? Feeling their magic tools being sent flying by a huge force, the 3 late Foundation establishment cultivators all cried out in disbelief. They then noticed that Lu Kuan's aura was not in disorder, and they also noticed the purple barrier around his body that was different from ordinary people. They could not help but have a bad feeling. What kind of defensive divine ability is that? He took on the combined attack of 3 Foundation Establishment late-stage cultivators and only spat out a mouthful of blood. He's not injured at all. When Lu Kuan heard these people's words, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, revealing a look of pride. Just now, he had not used any magic power at all. Relying on his strength of more than 50,000 kilograms and the materials of the Class 3 Lightning Hammers set, he had taken on the combined attack of the other party with an extremely high frequency. He had also relied on his currently refined body to the extreme, as well as the layer of lightning-attributed magic power outside his body to activate the defensive Thunder Shield. He had only taken a mouthful of blood from the tremendous power of the Class 3 Psychic Immortal Artifact. In reality, he had not suffered any damage. Haha, thank you for showing mercy in the first round of attacks just now, fellow Taoists. However, Lu will not be polite in the next round. After he finished speaking, purple light flashed on Lu Kuan's hands. 2 balls of lightning comparable to mid-grade and mid-grade spells appeared in his hands out of thin air, and they quickly climbed onto the lightning hammers. Under the infusion of Lu Kuan's muscle magic power, the light on the lightning hammers became more and more dazzling. He had used all of his lightning-attributed magic power. Hee, I'll let you experience the powerful battle strength of a body cultivator from Rellingen. Lu Kuan's face was filled with fanaticism. The muscles outside his body were even trembling with excitement. With the running speed of an ordinary cultivator, he rushed towards his opponents. Body cultivator? A trace of doubt flashed through the minds of the 3 late Foundation Establishment cultivators. However, when they felt the powerful aura of Lu Kuan, their hearts trembled. As if they were facing a great enemy, they immediately treated Lu Kuan as a cultivator of the same level. The old man continued to control his wolf tooth cudgel magic weapon. After this magic weapon was fully controlled by him, a faint golden light flowed on the spikes. The wolf tooth cudgel carried the powerful magic power of a late Foundation Establishment cultivator and smashed down on the charging Lu Kuan from above. Golden light flashed in Lu Kuan's eyes. Feeling the power of the wolf tooth cudgel above him, he let out a loud roar. The thick muscles of his thighs bulged, and the veins of his muscles could be clearly seen. His legs fiercely stomped on the ground, and his entire body rapidly leapt into the air. The 2 hammers took the initiative to meet the wolf tooth cudgel. Boom! A loud sound rang out. The seemingly powerful wolf tooth cudgel was sent flying by Lu Kuan's charged attack. Moreover, a considerable amount of purple lightning was transmitted to the wolf tooth cudgel. The power of thunder and lightning. The late Foundation Establishment cultivator looked at the bits of lightning on the wolf tooth cudgel. Feeling that the magic weapon was somewhat out of control, his expression was incomparably ugly. Damn it, the Huang brat's intelligence is definitely wrong. This level of strength is completely capable of fighting a late Foundation Establishment cultivator. The other party used his early Foundation Establishment cultivator's lightning-type magic ability to affect his level 3 spiritual immortal treasure. This meant that this person's lightning-type cultivation technique was extraordinary. At this moment, a huge blue sword about 10 feet long attacked Lu Kuan from the side. It emitted an extremely powerful aura that was even more powerful than the wolf tooth cudgel from before. It turned out that the other 2 middle-aged men had taken advantage of the time when the old man and Lu Kuan were fighting to combine their 2 swords into one. They were brothers to begin with, so they were very proficient in controlling a set of magic weapons. Late Foundation Establishment cultivators were not weaklings. Their battle instincts were extremely strong. After the first exchange, the 2 brothers had discovered that Lu Kuan's fighting style was similar to that of a 4th-grade demon beast. Thus, when Lu Kuan had already used up his strength and had not yet recovered his strength, they launched the combined attack of their magic weapons. This was a combined attack of a level 3 magic weapon set. Its power was even stronger than the previous attack. Suddenly, a burst of purple light could be seen exploding beneath Lu Kuan's feet. His entire body rose 10 feet into the air avoiding this terrifying attack. Lu Kun was not stupid. Just now, he had been in midair. Even if he had blocked the attack of the huge sword, he might have been injured in the haste. After all, a level 3 magic weapon set was extremely powerful. After rising into the air, Lu Kun somersaulted. His head was facing down and his legs were facing up. He quickly changed his direction. At the same time, purple light exploded beneath his feet. With the help of the thunderous explosion steps, he fled towards the huge sword that had missed him. Clang, 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 Lu Kun brandished his twin hammers. Infused with the power of thunder and lightning, he hammered the huge sword madly and rapidly, as if he was tempering materials. As the saying went, one strike after another would weaken. After the first strike of the combined sword missed, it lost the initiative. Chapter 301. Lu Kun took advantage of the thunderous explosion steps and quickly landed on the ground. His right arm suddenly thickened by a small circle. His right hand's fingertips moved, and a violent power burst out from his palm. The lightning hammer in his right hand rapidly rotated under the influence of this power. Lu Kun relied on the powerful muscles of his forearm and the tough bones of his fingers to turn the lightning hammer into a purple flywheel. At this time, the old man's wolf-tooth club had already regained control and once again attacked Lu Kun. Lu Kun revealed a mocking smile. His left hand swung the lightning hammer, blocking the attack of the wolf-tooth club. At the same time, he took advantage of the fact that the two middle-aged men had not regained full control of their swords, and threw out the high-speed, spinning purple flywheel in his right hand, smashing it towards the two men. When the two men saw this, they couldn't care less about the long sword in the distance that had yet to recover control. Each of them summoned a shield that glowed with white light to block the rapidly spinning thunder hammer. Boom! A loud sound echoed. The two white shields were supported by the magic power of a late Foundation establishment cultivator. After all, their defensive power was extraordinary, and they blocked the lightning hammer's enormous power. Then Lu Kun's peak mid-Foundation establishment spiritual sense completely erupted. He used the telekinesis technique of an ordinary cultivator to control the lightning hammer. The purple light on the lightning hammer quickly expanded. Lightning exploded and fell on the white shields. However, the shields didn't lose control like the previous flying swords. They still firmly blocked the lightning hammer. Fortunately, we brought these treasures with lightning resistance. Otherwise, if we lost control of our defensive magic tools, we would have been in real danger. What kind of cultivation technique does this brat use? His early-stage magic powers, lightning-attributed paralysis, is actually so powerful. His spiritual sense is also similar to us late-stage cultivators. He must be a core disciple of a large sect. We were tricked by that guy Huang Chun. At this time, they couldn't wait to go back and stab that deacon in the heart. My God, how could he use the power of a level 2 spiritual magic tool? A middle-aged man's spiritual sense sensed the magic tool in Lu Kun's hand and cried out in alarm. At this time, Lu Kun released his right hand and held the remaining lightning hammer with both hands. With the infusion of Fa Li from his arms, the lightning hammer's light became even more dazzling. After all, his current mana was still at the early stage of the Foundation establishment stage. He was unable to use the combined attack of a set of level 2 or 3 magic items. However, when he held the magic item with both hands at the same time and injected 2 portions of his physical mana, he could unleash a power of a higher level. This was one of the great advantages of body cultivators. Boom! The mace was no match for the might of Lu Kun's dual-wielding weapons and was forced to retreat. Just as Lu Kun was forced to retreat, the mace suddenly emitted a dazzling golden light. The 100 or so spikes on the mace all exploded and rushed towards the defenseless Lu Kun. In the eyes of the people outside, Lu Kun was drowned in countless golden lights. The old man in the distance heaved a sigh of relief. This opponent could be said to have the strangest cultivation method he had ever seen. Moreover, whether it was in terms of attack or defense, They were both extremely powerful. His attacks contained the paralyzing power of thunder magic. Every time he clashed with his opponent's lightning hammer, the old man's control over his magic item was somewhat lacking. Therefore, he directly activated the final hidden move of his spiked mace. Every spike attack was equivalent to a mid-level metal-type spell. Under the attack of nearly 100 spikes, even a late-stage foundation establishment stage barrier would not be able to withstand it. In his mind, Lu Kuan was already a dead man. That's not right. How could someone still control that lightning hammer? The old man's divine sense sensed that the other lightning hammer was still attacking. His expression changed, and he subconsciously took out a round shield shining with golden light. Just as he finished his actions, a violent purple light burst from Lu Kuan's side. All of the spikes on the mace were blown away by the lightning barrier that reappeared on the surface of his body, revealing a tall and sturdy figure. Impossible! How can you be unharmed? The old man's face was full of disbelief. He had once used this move to kill a late-stage foundation establishment stage cultivator by surprise. However, the early-stage foundation establishment stage cultivator in front of him didn't use any defensive magic item and seemed to be unharmed. Lu Kuan looked at the tattered clothes on his body and directly took them off, revealing strong muscles with distinct edges and corners. There wasn't a single trace of injury on them. Hee. If you knew how I built my foundation, you would know that a mere mid-rank attack can't damage my physical body, even if it breaks my defensive barrier. Now you can go die. Lu Kuan looked at the three people in front of him who had taken defensive measures. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Both of his hands grasped the lightning hammer. Lightning flashed under his feet, and he disappeared. Seeing this scene, the old man's pupils dilated, and he shouted, "Not good." Then he took out a mid-rank, high-rank defensive talisman and added it to his body without any hesitation. At the same time, he poured all of his transcendence energy into the protective barrier of the late-stage foundation establishment stage. Just now, when he fought with Lu Kuan, he discovered that this early-stage foundation establishment stage cultivator's attack power was not only strong, but also carried the power of thunder and lightning. He was not inferior to a late-stage foundation establishment stage cultivator. Now that he had revealed such an unpredictable escape technique, there was no other way but to defend with all of his might. The old man even thought that if the other party had used his full strength from the beginning, they might have been defeated long ago. Boom! Just as the old man was secretly afraid, Lu Kuan had already appeared behind the middle-aged man in white. The lightning hammer directly hit the man's protective barrier. This blow made the thick barrier of the late-stage foundation establishment stage dim. The man in white's face turned pale, as if he couldn't control his transcendence energy. The white shield in front of him fell directly, and the barrier of transcendence energy was about to disappear. Lu Kuan only needed one more blow to easily kill him. Clang! Fortunately, his brother's reaction was not slow. He controlled his white shield and blocked the blow, saving the man in white's life. The man in white was sweating profusely. He shouted, "This person's attack has the power of thunder attribute paralysis. Big brother, let's defend back to back." The two of them were brothers after all, and their minds were connected. As they spoke, they quickly leaned back to back, two white shields in front of them. At the same time, they each took out a beginner mid-rank defensive talisman. They slapped it on their bodies. Their own transcendence energy barriers were under their control. Lu Kuan's power of thunder and lightning paralyzed the transcendence energy in their bodies. Although it was only for a moment, it would weaken the barriers outside their bodies to the extreme. Without the supply of transcendence energy, they would even disappear directly. As for defensive talismans, the difference was that they didn't need to continuously supply transcendence energy to continuously block attacks. But when the brothers finished all this, Lu Kuan had already disappeared from their side. One of the men was shocked. "Uncle, be careful." Sure enough, Lu Kuan appeared beside the old man. He didn't know when he held the other thunder hammer in his hand. Bypassing the golden defensive round shield, the twin hammers attacked the old man's double-layered barrier at an extremely fast speed. With every strike, a trace of the power of thunder and lightning would be transmitted into the Transcendence energy barrier. Although Lu Kuan's power of thunder and lightning could only be used for a very short time, under the high-speed attack of the twin hammers, the paralysis energy was endless. The old man from the Thousand Treasures Tower was pale, and his body was twitching. The defensive artifact that he took out earlier had already fallen to the ground, and it was useless. His mid-rank, high-rank defensive talisman, although it was powerful, it couldn't withstand Lu Kuan's 50,000 kilograms of brute force hammering again and again, and gradually dimmed. Chapter 302. At this moment, Lu Kuan's expression changed slightly. He crossed his hammers and blocked in front of his chest. Then a blue light appeared, and the giant blue sword appeared in front of his chest like a bolt of lightning. Boom! The combined attack of this three-level set of magic artifacts was extremely powerful. This attack directly sent Lu Kuan flying. However, the giant sword did not chase after him. Instead, it stood guard in front of the old man. At the same time, the two brothers, who were standing back to back, arrived in front of the old man. The old man had also recovered from the paralysis caused by the power of thunder and lightning. The magic power in his body began to circulate again. Then, the three of them stood back to back. The old man's face was pale. It was obvious that he had not fully recovered from the continuous paralysis. He whispered to the man behind him, "We are in a very dangerous situation. Lil Six, we can't care anymore. Quickly use the magic artifact to ask for help." The man in white who had been attacked by Lu Kuan quickly nodded and took out a small magic artifact. With a flash of magic power in his hand, he shattered it. "Ask for help? I'm afraid you won't be able to wait until then," Lu Kuan said coldly. He activated the thunderous explosion steps and moved twice. He arrived in front of them like a god. As he spoke, he clenched a lightning hammer in his hands. His body rotated, and with the force of the rotation, he attacked the giant sword head-on. The giant sword trembled, and Lu Kuan took 2 steps back. While he did not use the giant arm divine ability, Lu Kuan's attack power was much weaker than the combined giant sword. However, Lu Kuan did not care about the giant sword. His current thunderous explosion steps was 1 level faster than the firewood escape technique. His opponents were controlling the giant sword. The giant sword's reaction could not keep up with his pace. Lu Kuan bypassed the giant sword and looked at the white shield controlled by the two brothers. He smiled. With his attainments in refining, he could tell at a glance that the shield was mixed with some white pottery spiritual earth. Unfortunately, the power of thunder and lightning is only a part of my attack. Bang! The lightning hammer smashed onto the white shield with a force of over 50,000 kilograms, causing the white light on the shield to dim a little. Aside from the lightning resistance, the defensive power of the white earthenware spiritual earth was slightly lacking. As long as Lu Kuan attacked a few more times, the shield would definitely not be able to hold on. Without a lightning-resistant defensive magical artifact, Lu Kuan could definitely kill them before their reinforcements arrived. Boom! Taking advantage of the gap in Lu Kuan's attack, the giant sword attacked again, knocking Lu Kuan back a few steps. And at this time, the Thousand Treasure Tower's old man took out a talisman that contained a strong earth spirit power. With a pained expression on his face, he clenched his teeth and activated it. In the blink of an eye, an incomparably thick earthy yellow light shield enveloped the three of them at the same time, emitting a strong earth element fluctuation. Mid-grade, top-tier defensive talisman? Lu Kuan looked at the shield in front of him in astonishment. This spiritual power fluctuation was completely a mid-grade top-tier talisman, and it was more powerful than the spells he had seen before. It was close to an advanced spell. The giant sword that attacked him from the side also lost control at the same time when this yellow light shield appeared. It split into 2 long swords and scattered on the ground. "Kid, I admit that the 3 of us are not your opponent, even if we join forces. However, We have already informed the clansmen in the Nanfo market. There will be many cultivators rushing over soon. You can't fight against 4 with 2 fists. This thick earth origin shield talisman, it was refined by a core formation stage cultivator. Although he can't leave this shield and can attack you from a distance, this defensive spell is definitely not broken in a short time with your attack power. Even if you release the Thunderfall technique, you may not be able to break the defense. If you know what's good for you, you'd better escape as soon as possible. Lu Kuan looked at the 2 flying swords that were not controlled by anyone on the ground and revealed a look of realization. However, his next action made the 2 middle-aged men inside furious. Lu Kuan slowly bent down and picked up the level 3 magic tool set under his feet. In front of the 3 people, he put it into the storage bag. Then he looked at the defensive magic tools shrouded in the yellow light shield and revealed a bit of regret. He sighed and said, "Originally, for the sake of this level 3 magic tool set, I could have let you live. Unfortunately, you saw my cultivation method. I can't afford to provoke the clan behind the 1,000 treasure tower. Now, I don't want to escape. You should go to hell." Then Lu Kuan looked at the old man with a strange look and said, "However, old man, are you sure that the Thunderfall technique can't break this shield?" The old man exclaimed, "Impossible. Although your divine sense is strong and your physical strength is comparable to a level 4 demonic beast, your magic power is your shortcoming. You're only at the early stage of foundation establishment. How can you use such an intermediate top-level thunder spell?" Lu Kuan looked up at the sky and ignored the old man's yelling. Instead, he muttered to himself, "The next move is infinitely powerful. Now that my physical body has improved greatly, I can barely use it. I can take this opportunity to try it." Lu Kuan glanced at the 3 people in the shield as if he was looking at dead people. Then he bent his legs slightly, and a purple light flashed under his feet, creating a small crater on the ground. He jumped into the sky, and there were thunderous sounds coming from under his feet. With this push, he flew higher and higher. After a while, Lu Kuan became smaller and smaller in the eyes of the people below. Foundation establishment cultivators can fly. Even if he can fly, what does he want to do by flying so high? He can't really know the Thunderfall technique, right? After all, the old man from 1,000 Treasures Tower was older and could keep his composure. He scolded, "What are you panicking for? Even if he knows the Thunderfall technique, the 3 of us have the thick Earth Origin Shield and your Lightning Shield. Finally, the 3 of us can combine our magic power shields. This kind of defense, even if it's a core formation cultivator's magic weapon, it might not break the defense." Hearing the old man's words, the 2 brothers' hearts calmed down a little. While these people were talking, Lu Kuan slowly flew to a height of 300 feet. He looked at the sparse clouds around him, and his body muscles trembled with excitement. What is a physique cultivator? It is to exert the power of the physical body to the extreme. I now have a strength of 50,000 kilograms, but with other means, 50,000 kilograms of strength can completely exert more than 100,000 kilograms of power. For example now, when Lu Kuan reached a height of 300 feet, he stopped the thunderous explosion steps. His entire body flipped, and his head was facing down. He held the lightning hammer with both hands and fell down as if he was free-falling. I really don't know the Thunderfall technique, but my human form Thunderfall technique is much more powerful. Lu Kuan's blood was boiling as he looked at the small spot on the ground with a fanatical gaze. At this time, Huang Xiaoyun and the others in the forest, although their eyesight was not good, they quickly discovered the abnormality in the sky. They saw a strong purple light falling from the clouds, as if a huge thunderball was shot out from the clouds. The speed of this thunderball was still accelerating. Even if Huang Xiaoyun and the others were a little far away, they could hear the rumbling sound of the thunderball tearing the air. When the thunderball was about 100 feet above the ground, it seemed that because of its speed, the friction with the air was intense, and a red flame appeared on the outside. It turned into a thunder fireball. The 3 people inside the Earth Essence Shield technique had long been staring with their eyes wide open. Their mouths were so wide that they could swallow a few eggs. Their faces were full of disbelief as they looked at this thunderfall technique. Then they realized something. All kinds of magic tools appeared in their hands, and they crazily attacked the yellow barrier. What was funny was that this defensive barrier that made them feel incomparably safe had become a rope of death that bound them. They had no way to break it in such a short time. The purple-red thunder fireball bombarded down from 300 feet above the clouds. Boom! Hearing the rumbling sound and feeling the vibration of the ground, Huang Xiaoyan, Little Pan Yin, and Xiao Jin in the forest were all stunned by the scene in front of them. It was as if an incomparably gorgeous high-level magic spell had exploded. Accompanied by a huge rumbling sound, a dazzling light appeared, and a small mushroom cloud of dust rose from the ground. A large amount of dust and gravel flew in all directions, forming a strong sandstorm in this lush place. Even an early core formation cultivator would not be able to release such a terrifying power. Lu Kuan's human form thunderfall technique and the real thunderfall technique could only be described with two words: simple, violent. Chapter 303. After a while, everything was settled, but the center of the explosion was still very quiet, making Huang Xiaoyun and the others feel a trace of uneasiness. Suddenly, Xiao Jin's ears trembled, and it screamed. It stretched its claws forward and quickly threw Huang Xiaoyun and Little Pan Yin onto the spirit shuttle. Then, the little monkey directly controlled the spirit shuttle and flew to the place of the explosion with an extremely anxious expression. Fortunately, it was only 2 to 3 miles away. In the blink of an eye, the spirit shuttle arrived at the battlefield. The scene in front of them made them dumbfounded. They saw that there was a pit that was 10 feet in size, and the deepest part of the pit was 10 feet deep. This kind of power completely exceeded the ability of a foundation establishment cultivator. It definitely reached the attack power of a core formation cultivator. However, the center of the pit did not suffer too much of an impact, forming a raised platform. They immediately saw Lu Kuan on the platform. Lu Kuan looked extremely miserable at this time. Not to mention his pale face, his entire body was covered in blood, and his arms looked even more terrifying. They were badly mutilated, and even white bones could be seen at his wrists. However, the bleeding had stopped, and there was a faint purple light flashing in his flesh, as if it was repairing itself. All that was left of Lu Kuan's body was a pair of tattered pants and a few storage bags around his waist. The lightning hammer looked a little dim and had been thrown to the side. If one looked closely, they would see that there was a crack on it. Other than Lu Kuan, there were a few broken shield fragments and 4 storage bags on the platform. The 3 late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators of the 10,000 Treasures Tower seemed to have disappeared into thin air without leaving a trace. Xiao Jin, help me onto the spirit shuttle. My muscles and internal organs are seriously injured, and I can't move. Lu Kuan, who was lying on the ground, said to the little monkey in an extremely weak tone. Xiao Jin nodded and dropped the spirit shuttle. He scuttled to Lu Kuan's side and grabbed his arm. With a kick of his legs, he easily jumped onto the spirit shuttle with Lu Kuan, who was many times bigger than him. All right, don't forget to bring my storage bag and my lightning hammer. I had to control the power of the hammer in the end to not damage the storage bag. If I missed it, this fight would have been for nothing. Lu Kuan lay on the spirit shuttle and watched as Xiao Jin picked up the storage bag and lightning hammer from the ground. He let out a sigh of relief. He forced himself to be alert and continued to say, Xiao Jin, drive the spirit shuttle with all your strength and fly towards the southeast. In a while, the people from Nanfeng Market will arrive. Creak, creak. What? 5 or 6 cultivators were already 10 li away. Let's hurry. Xiao Jin threw the storage bag and lightning hammer onto the spirit shuttle. He stirred his demonic spiritual energy and drove the flying boat into the distance. About a quarter of an hour later, 6 Foundation establishment cultivators wearing black and white robes arrived. When they saw the huge hole, they stopped in confusion. The leader of this group was the black-clothed attendant who received Lu Kuan. He used his flying magic tool and arrived at the center of the hole. Looking at the fragments of the golden shield scattered on the ground, his face was filled with shock. He shouted, "Uncle's golden armor shield was shattered. How is this possible?" "Huangchen, are you sure?" Uncle's golden armor shield is a level 3 defensive magic tool. Apart from core formation cultivators, who can break it? The one who spoke was a man in white. He came to Huangchen's side and casually picked up a fragment of the shield on the ground. After looking at it for a while, his originally indifferent expression disappeared without a trace and became incomparably pale. He said with a trembling voice, "It really is the golden armor shield." The golden armor shield was shattered? This hole is a bit strange. I've been here before, and there didn't seem to be a hole here. Could it be? This hole was created by a cultivator's attack? At this moment, the 6 Foundation establishment cultivators thought of a terrifying situation. Each of them was drenched in cold sweat. The black-clothed attendant, Huang Chun, who spoke before, muttered, "This hole and the shattered golden armor shield. Could it really be a core formation cultivator?" When the others heard his whisper, they revealed a somewhat fearful expression. A core formation cultivator wasn't someone they could deal with. "Huang Chun, didn't you say that uncle and 5th brother and 6th brother came to kill an early Foundation establishment cultivator? Why would a core formation cultivator appear?" Huang Chen's forehead was covered in sweat. He appeared to be incomparably flustered and stammered, unable to speak. "That's right. I placed a tracking mark on that early Foundation establishment cultivator. When we left the market, I could still sense it. Let me try again." Finished speaking, Huang Chun hurriedly chanted some kind of incantation and closed his eyes to carefully sense it. Very quickly, he opened his eyes again and said in a daze, "The tracking mark is gone. Our clan's secret technique can only be easily erased by someone whose divine sense is much stronger than mine. But that person's cultivation level is only at the early Foundation establishment stage. It must have been a core formation cultivator who made a move. Looking at it this way, there are only 2 possibilities. Either the cultivator you were tracking was killed by a core formation cultivator along with Uncle and the others, or the cultivator has a core formation cultivator behind him who killed Uncle and the others out of anger. Regardless of which, it's not something we can deal with. It must be like this. Do you think that core formation cultivator will come back? Let's hurry back to the market and tell the clan." These Foundation establishment stage cultivators muttered to themselves for a while before flying towards the direction of Nanfeng Market Square with frightened expressions. However, the black-clothed attendant, Huang Chun, still had a doubtful expression on his face. That cultivator is clearly a foreign cultivator. Could it really be a passing core formation cultivator who got greedy and killed them all? Not to mention the panic of Wan Bao Lu's group. Lu Kuan's spirit shuttle had already flown over 10 kilometers under the control of Xiao Jin. Lu Kuan was lying on the spirit shuttle at this time, and his complexion had recovered a lot. He said rather nervously, "Xiao Jin, did they follow us?" Xiao Jin's ears trembled slightly. He shook his head and squeaked a few times. Lu Kuan heard this and let out a sigh of relief, revealing a somewhat fortunate expression. "Fortunately, I remembered the tracking mark that person left on me. With my current extremely condensed peak mid-stage divine sense, I easily removed it." When they saw the traces of battle, they most likely thought it was done by a core formation cultivator and wouldn't take the risk to chase us. "Xiao Jin, the spirit energy in this area is ordinary, and there are very few cultivators. Let's find a place to land. I want to check on my injuries." The little monkey nodded and controlled the spirit shuttle to fly down. He found a cave on a rather desolate mountain and landed. Xiao Jin's demonic spiritual power flashed and threw the spirit shuttle and a lightning hammer on it into Lu Kuan's storage bag. He also hung the other storage bags on his waist. Huang Xiaoyun and the others helped Lu Kuan into the cave. "Xiao Jin, take out the silver spirit-controlling breastplate from my storage bag." Chapter 304. Looking at the silver armor on his upper body, Lu Kuan was slightly relieved. He mobilized the spiritual power in his body again, and with a flash of light on the ground, 2 sets of array plates appeared. Little Yun, the spiritual power in your body is enough to set up an array. This concealment array and protective array are set up at the entrance of the cave. I may need to spend 2 or 3 days to heal. Yes, master. After Lu Kuan finished instructing, he began to check the state of his physical body. When he first entered the Foundation establishment realm, he used the previous move in the weapon refining P competition. However, at that time, he only fell from a height of 1,000 feet. In addition, there was a human-shaped meat cushion under his body, so he was not injured. Of course, the attack power was not too strong. But this time was different. He fell from a height of 3,000 feet, and he kept accelerating his fall with the thunderous explosion step. The impact itself was terrifying. In addition, he activated the giant arm magical ability at the end, and his strength increased to more than 70,000 pounds. Therefore, the power of this human-shaped thunderfall technique came from 3 forces. One was the impact of falling from a height of 3,000 feet. The second was the physical strength of more than 70,000 pounds. The third was the power of the lightning hammer, which was injected with his physical spiritual power. Even Lu Kuan himself was unable to estimate the power of these 3 combined attacks. However, there was one thing that he was certain of, and that was that the power of this attack definitely exceeded that of the core formation Cultivator's magic treasure by more than a little. After he fell from a high altitude, the lightning hammer was a medium to release all the power of this move. That terrifying attack was like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood, easily breaking the Earth attribute top-notch defense outside the 10,000 Treasure Tower trio and shattering the other party's defensive shield. The remaining power of the attack vented in the surroundings, blasting out that huge crater. After the 3 people of Wan Baolu had their defenses shattered, they were turned into ashes by the power of thunder and lightning on the lightning hammer. However, the effect of force was mutual. When attacking the opponent, Lu Kuan also suffered a strong recoil. The reason why he dared to try this move was that he had refined his body cultivation. The outermost layer of muscles was condensed to the current extreme, and the physical defense was amazing. But even relying on the body of a 4th-level monster beast, the defensive power of the Imperial Thunder Shield, and the strange giant arm, under the effect of the recoil, his body was instantly seriously injured. His muscles, bones, and organs were all damaged to varying degrees. Lu Kuan even suspected that if it wasn't for his giant arm divine art withstanding most of the recoil, all his bones would have been shattered. Although I was severely injured this time, after today's battle, I have a more complete understanding of my own strength. When I reach the late Foundation establishment stage, my bones and blood will be completely tempered, and my internal organs will also begin to receive the liquid magic power to temper them. My body should be able to withstand a recoil. Furthermore, my strength should have increased at that time. I'm sure this move will be even more terrifying. It's a pity that this humanoid lightning strike has a lot of restrictions. Firstly, the target can't move. Secondly, it takes too long to prepare. Most opponents would have fled long ago. Right? Lu Kuan suddenly thought of a change in this move, and said somewhat excitedly, "If I use it like this, when I reach the late Foundation establishment stage, the power of my thunder and lightning will increase greatly. If I meet an ordinary early core formation cultivator, I might be able to fight." Then he shook his head and said, self-deprecatingly, "It's still too early to think about the methods of the late Foundation establishment stage." Then he looked at the silver armor on his body and sighed. Previously, under the final impact, the spirit-controlling armor on his arms and legs were directly shattered by the powerful force. Fortunately, his opponent had already been killed. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to use his magic power, and his body would be in an injured state. It would be extremely dangerous. Therefore, the matter of engraving a spirit-controlling array on his body was urgent. After healing my injuries, I'll leave first. This place is still a bit too close to Nanfo Market. Later, I'll find a safe place refine a portion of blood marrow powder, and try to engrave a spirit-controlling array on my muscles. It's a pity that there's only one chi pill left. I have to keep it in case I need it. I don't know if the Chu country sells it. It's really too wasteful for the Nine Spectres sect to use this pill to release the blood escape technique. Muttering in his heart, Lu Kuan began to circulate the thunder, attribute magic power in his body to heal his injuries. After the previous battle, Lu Kuan's magic power had been greatly depleted. Now, there was only a small portion left. Because his spiritual root had disappeared, the spirit-controlling armor didn't cover his entire body. He adjusted his muscles and circulated his magic power to heal his injuries. Gradually, the flesh on his giant arm gradually recovered. Some of the damaged skin also slowly grew back. After about half an hour, Lu Kuan opened his eyes. He took off the armor on his chest and wrapped it around his right arm. Then he took out the last spirit-controlling arm guard from his storage bag and wore it on his left arm. Lu Kuan held 3 spirit stones in each of his hands. The lightning strike on both of his arms flashed with purple light. He had already exhausted the magic power in his body and needed to recover his magic power. Fortunately, there were only 2 lightning strikes. Otherwise, if there were more lightning strikes, with the limited spirit-controlling armor, the recovery speed of his magic power would still be very slow. While Lu Kuan was healing his injuries, Huang Xiaoyan and Little Pan Yin were also holding spirit stones and seriously cultivating the Vajra esoteric art. During the time they were escaping, they had been following Lu Kuan. They vaguely knew how strong Lu Kuan was. Not only did he defeat a core formation cultivator among so many Foundation establishment stage refined corpses and save Qin Yushu and the rest, but he also resisted the attacks of a core formation stage magic treasure. However, these achievements did not give Huang Xiaoyan and Pan Yin a direct understanding of their master's strength. In their knowledge, they only knew the approximate attack power of a Foundation establishment stage cultivator. They had no concept of a core formation stage cultivator. However, what they saw today was completely different. Their master, Lu Kuan, practiced a self-created body tempering technique. His cultivation base was at the early Foundation establishment stage, and yet he was able to descend from a height of several hundred meters. That kind of gorgeous attack and shocking effect would be remembered in their hearts for the rest of their lives. Although Huang Xiaoyan and Pan Yan's temperaments were different, their desire for strength was completely the same. When the 2 youths thought about how they could possibly unleash a terrifying attack like Lu Kuan's after entering the Foundation establishment stage, their blood boiled and they were incomparably excited. Therefore, the 2 of them changed their previous lazy attitude and became like ascetic cultivators. They couldn't wait to cultivate all the time and cultivate the Vajra esoteric art to the great accomplishment stage. They wanted to cultivate their muscles and magic power as soon as possible and officially cultivate the body tempering technique. As for Xiao Jin, at this moment, it was sitting at the entrance of the cave and helping Lu Kuan to protect him. It had a miraculous ear ability and was connected to Lu Kuan by blood. It could hear all of Lu Kuan's moves and techniques, and even the changes in his body when he was circulating his techniques. The little monkey recalled Lu Kuan's attack method and was somewhat depressed. Xiao Jin discovered that with its current physical body, it could at most land within a height of 200 feet. Otherwise, it would very likely be shocked to death. Moreover, Lu Kuan could rely on the unique ability of the thunderous explosion steps to soar into the air. The little monkey's demonic spiritual power was unable to do this. Therefore, if it used this move, it could only fly into the air first. It was not as nimble as Lu Kuan. The little monkey's face was full of confusion. It scratched its ears and cheeks, thinking about how to adapt Lu Kuan's move to a suitable move for it. Time slowly passed just like that. Chapter 305. In the following month, many cultivators in Nanfeng Market knew that an unfamiliar core formation cultivator had arrived nearby. It was said that this senior had killed several Foundation establishment cultivators outside the market, and the killed Foundation establishment cultivators were the late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators overseeing the 10,000 Treasures Tower. The 10,000 Treasures Tower announced that on that day, their stewards were escorting a large batch of precious materials from the 10,000 Treasures Tower. Their conversation was overheard by a passing core formation cultivator, who knew that this core formation cultivator would become greedy and kill the 3 late-stage cultivators of the 10,000 Treasures Tower on the spot. After this matter came out, the cultivators near the market were all in a state of panic. They either stayed in the market or hid in their cave abodes, afraid that they would encounter such a vicious and merciless senior outside. Even the late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators of the 10,000 Treasures Tower were killed by the core formation cultivator without any resistance. Cultivators like them who weren't very strong were even more powerless when they encountered him. This matter also allowed the nearby cultivators who hadn't seen a core formation cultivator in action to have a deeper understanding of the strength of a core formation cultivator. Even if there were 3 late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators, they wouldn't be a match for a core formation cultivator. As Nan Foam Market became more and more deserted, the Nan Sha sect and Foam clan that established the market had no choice but to announce that the core formation cultivators of the 2 clans had already scouted the surroundings of Nan Foam Market. They vowed that there were no other core formation cultivators in the vicinity, and that from now on, they would send a core formation cultivator to take turns overseeing Nan Foam Market. After this news came out, many people let out a sigh of relief. The deeper their understanding of core formation cultivators, the more assured they felt about having a core formation cultivator overseeing the market. And with a core formation cultivator overseeing Nan Foam Market, it became more and more lively. Lu Kuan didn't know that his attack had alarmed the core formation cultivators here. At this time, he was already hundreds of miles away in a market near the border of the Eastern Galloping State. According to the map, the Southern Marsh region is after the Eastern Quickening region. No wonder the scale of this southeast market is so much bigger, and there are even core formation cultivators overseeing it. I heard from Master that the sects in the Southern Marsh region are much stronger than those in the Eastern Quickening region. The one who spoke was a teenager of 16 or 17 years old. His face was chiseled and had a slightly masculine aura. He was quite handsome. The magic power ripples on his body were weak, indicating that he was only at the 4th level of Qi refining. A yellow-haired monkey sat on his shoulder, its paws clutching his hair as it looked around curiously. I understand now. The immortal cultivators of the Eastern Galloping Prefecture and the Southern Marsh Prefecture are exchanging goods in this market. Those who are dressed differently should be the immortal cultivators of the Southern Marsh Prefecture. He stared at the cultivators coming and going without blinking. He even pointed at a cultivator who had many bells hanging from his robe. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Pa! The teenager slapped the boy's hand down and said seriously, "Little Yin, we are both very weak. Furthermore, you don't have any magic power in your body. You are still immortal. If you point at others like this, be careful that you don't get killed." These 2 people were Huang Xiaoyan and Pan Yin. They were walking on a street paved with stone slabs. On both sides of the street, there were very stylish shops. There were many cultivators on the street. Many of them were Foundation establishment cultivators. Even if there were Qi refining cultivators, they were at the late stage of Qi refining. However, regardless of the cultivation of these cultivators, most of their clothes were completely different from those of the Eastern Quickening State. It turned out that they had arrived at this southeast market a day ago. However, their master, Lu Kuan, didn't stroll around the market. Instead, he immediately spent money to rent a temporary cave residence with the most abundant spiritual energy. Then, he sent them out and had them buy some low-level talismans for self-defense and to buy some information about the Southern Marsh State's cultivation sections. In this market, with a core formation cultivator overseeing it, even if these 2 little disciples were weak, as long as they used spirit stones, it was still very safe. Moreover, Xiao Jin, who was disguised as an ordinary wild beast, was following them. Yeah, there's a shop that specializes in selling talismans. Let's go take a look. Little Yin, what are you looking at? Let's go faster. Master has instructed you to listen to me. Oh, I'm coming. At this moment, Lu Kuan was sitting in a rather large cave residence. In front of him was a jade bottle half filled with dark red blood. Even with the jade bottle as a barrier, one could still feel the exuberant blood chi from the outside. Beside the jade bottle, there was a strange spiritual herb that was 5 inches long and emitted a dark red glow. Lu Kuan lamented to himself, "After spending a month's time, I've finally accumulated so much blood essence. If not for the fact that I'm a body cultivator and eat a lot of demonic beast meat every day to replenish my blood chi, I would have needed at least 3 months to accumulate all this blood essence." After leaving Nanfeng Market, Lu Kuan spent a month's time before arriving here. The Southern Marsh State was a place he had to pass through on his way to the overseas lands. In this month, in order to refine the blood marrow powder as soon as possible, he had continuously extracted his own blood essence along the way. Lu Kuan needed blood essence to activate the giant arm divine ability. In addition, Lu Kuan's control over his body was extremely strong, so extracting blood essence was a piece of cake for him. However, in order to not harm his body, he limited the amount of blood essence he extracted each time. Moreover, after extracting blood essence, he had to wait for his blood chi to recover. After exhausting and stopping, he finally collected half a bottle of blood essence. Together with the 300-year-old blood clotting grass beside it, he could completely start refining the blood marrow powder. Lu Kuan, who had been sitting cross-legged for half a day, suddenly opened his eyes. "I can start refining now." To be on the safe side, Lu Kuan would wait until the hidden spirit root reappeared before refining the blood marrow powder. After all, there were not many spirit-controlling immortal artifacts left. First, I have to refine the blood-clotting grass. A purple spirit light flickered in his right hand. The dark red herb on the ground flew toward Lu Kuan and landed in the palm of his right hand. Crackle! A flame with a faint purple glow appeared in his right hand and enveloped the dark red herb. Under the extremely high temperature of the flame, the blood-clotting grass gradually melted. This faint purple flame was Lu Kuan's dermic power true fire after he cultivated the Imperial Thunderbody tempering technique. It was slightly different from the white flame from before. He did not know if it was a change caused by the thunder attribute dermic power, but this faint purple flame was more powerful than the white flame. However, it was still much weaker than the thunder attribute dermic power that Lu Kuan had activated. Therefore, in battle, Lu Kuan would not use the dermic power of his muscles to activate dermic power true fire. Instead, he would use the dermic power of his body to activate more powerful thunderballs to increase the power of his attacks. Lu Kuan looked at the spirit medicine that was gradually turning into liquid in his palm and smiled. Only a strong body like mine can withstand the calcination of the foundation establishment true fire. For this kind of relatively simple refinement of herbs, there is no need for a furnace. I can use my palm as a furnace. Chapter 306. After the time it took for a stick of incense to burn, the dark red herb in Lu Kuan's hand had disappeared and turned into a small dark red liquid. At first glance, it was the same color as blood. The concentration of this liquid continued to change as the light purple flame burned. This change in concentration was a test for cultivators. Many cultivators failed to refine pills because they didn't control the concentration of the medicinal liquid well. Therefore, most cultivators were prepared for failure when refining herbs for the first time. Lu Kuan dared to refine the blood marrow powder with only 1 stalk of blood coagulation grass. There were 3 main reasons why he didn't worry about failure. One was that the refining method given in the psychic puppet was related to refining techniques. There is only 1 step that required the refining of herbs. Second, Lu Kuan was only refining a single herb. He didn't mix many herbs. With his incomparably condensed spiritual sense, he could completely understand the situation of a single medicinal liquid. The last reason was that Lu Kuan was most proud of his physical perception. When the medicinal liquid was calcined on his right palm, the small muscles on his palm could completely sense the changes in the medicinal liquid. Complementing each other with his spiritual sense, he could guarantee that nothing would go wrong. Therefore, Lu Kuan was confident that he could directly refine the blood marrow powder. After the purple flame calcined for a while, Lu Kuan's right palm trembled slightly. After sensing for a while, he quickly waved his left hand and brought the congealed jade bottle in front of him. Then he quickly opened the bottle. As the purple flame on his right hand disappeared, he poured the blood-clotting grass, which had turned into liquid, into the jade bottle. The bottle's opening was also sealed. Then, the jade bottle containing the mixture of blood essence and medicinal liquid floated in front of him. The first step of refining is perfect. I didn't expect that the physical perception of a physique cultivator could be used in refining pills. In the future, I could try refining pills. With this thought flashing through his mind, Lu Kuan recalled the refining method in the psychic puppet technique. He muttered something and formed a special seal with his hands. Streaks of purple spiritual energy were injected into the congealed jade bottle. As the spirit force surged, the mixed liquid in the jade bottle began to boil. The turbulent blood aura that could be felt from the outside suddenly disappeared. It was all converged into the jade bottle. Lu Kuan had a thoughtful look on his face. So one of the functions of the blood coagulation grass is to restrain the blood qi and condense the essence. This way, not a single drop of blood essence will be wasted. Then Lu Kuan gripped the jade bottle tightly with his left hand. A faint purple flame rose from his palm and began to burn the jade bottle. It was only because of his incomparably powerful physical body that he dared to be burned by the Foundation establishment true fire together with a congealed fat jade bottle without any protection. Purple spirit light flashed in his right hand, and he was ready to inject spirit power into it at any time. The next step is the most important congealing powder. According to the description of the refining method on the psychic puppet technique, this was the process of forming the blood marrow powder. During this process, it needed to be injected with a seal every once in a while to assist the blood coagulation grass in compressing the blood qi essence inside. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with golden light, as if he could directly see through it. He could clearly see the situation of the mixed liquid in the congealed jade bottle. At the same time, his left hand that was holding the congealed jade bottle shook slightly to feel the bottle's vibration. With the cooperation of Lu Kuan's divine sense, spirit eyes, and physical perception, every once in a while, the purple spirit power in his right hand would be injected into the congealed jade bottle at the right time. In this way, after half a day, the liquid in the congealed jade bottle gradually disappeared and many blood-red particles appeared. Lu Kuan looked quite nervous. The flame in his left hand was gradually dimmed and the temperature was dropping. His right hand contained the last of the purple spirit power. This is it. The flame in Lu Kuan's left hand suddenly disappeared, and the spirit power in his right hand was injected into the congealed jade bottle. The blood-red particles in the bottle made bursting sounds. Lu Kuan clearly saw that with the bursting sounds, these particles turned into powder and filled the jade bottle. Roar! At the same time, Lu Kuan heard the roar of a giant ape in a trance. The fierce voice made his divine sense in a trance, and he subconsciously let go of the congealed jade bottle in his hand. Dang! The jade bottle fell directly to the ground, making a crisp sound. At the same time, in the market, Xiao Jin, lying on Huang Xiaoyan's shoulder, suddenly turned around and looked at the temporary cave house where Lu Kuan was. His monkey face was full of doubts. Eldest senior brother, what's wrong? Huang Xiaoyan felt Xiao Jin's abnormality, and his expression changed slightly. Xiao Jin scratched his head and didn't know where to start. He gently patted Huang Xiaoyan's head. Gigi. Although I don't understand, eldest senior brother, your tone doesn't seem to say that there is danger. Gigi. Then let's go to the 100 Spirits restaurant. The shopkeeper just said that this restaurant had a lot of special demonic beast meat from the southern marsh state. It is very fragrant and tender. After Huang Xiaoyan knew that there was no danger, he threw Xiao Jin's abnormality to the back of his mind. He brought the drooling Xiao Jin and Xiao Yin to the famous Hundred Spirits restaurant in the market. What is this sound? Lu Kuan suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. As an early Foundation Establishment cultivator, his divine sense was close to the late Foundation Establishment level, so he wouldn't have the so-called auditory hallucination. Could it be the roar of that giant golden ape? He recalled this roar and finally had a trace of impression. It was the roar of that giant golden ape whose strength was immeasurable in his dream. For so many years, I relied on this unknown giant ape bloodline to be able to have the magical golden eye divine ability and the giant arm divine ability to increase my combat strength. And with the help of this bloodline, the strength of my physical body far exceeds that of ordinary people. There's its blood in my blood essence. In other words, the blood marrow powder that I refined used some of the giant golden ape's bloodline. Lu Kuan, who thought of this, couldn't help but be stunned. The roar just now was very likely the phenomenon produced by the refining of this blood marrow powder. In some of the profound refining records of the Yang clan, it was described that some heavenly treasures and even extremely spiritual treasures would produce all kinds of strange phenomena after the refining was successful. As long as there was a strange phenomenon, it meant that the refining was successful and the true effect of these heavenly treasures would be displayed. The better the blood marrow powder is refined, the more it will help me to inscribe the spirit-controlling formation. I have the bloodline of the giant ape, so this blood marrow powder is completely tailor-made for me. Lu Kuan quickly calmed down. He had already inherited the golden ape's bloodline divine ability. Other than being surprised by the strange phenomenon, he didn't have any other thoughts about its effects. Picking up the congealed jade bottle on the ground and looking at the blood marrow powder inside, Lu Kuan was faced with another difficult problem. This is my first time inscribing the spirit-controlling formation. I don't know the range of effects of the formation on the body. Where should I start? I don't know when the next time I get blood-clotting grass will be. I have to be careful. Chapter 307. The Hundred Spirits restaurant in the Southeast Market could be said to be very famous in the entire Donchi province. Not only did this restaurant provide all kinds of demonic beast meat from the Southern Marsh province, but the head chef was also a Foundation Establishment cultivator. It was said that this Foundation Establishment cultivator was proficient in fire attribute spells, and his cultivation technique was also quite special. That was why he could cook those Class 1 demonic beasts, and even a small portion of Class 2 demonic beasts. Today was the day that the head chef would cook. All the dishes on that day would be cooked by the head chef using a special method. As a result, the Hundred Spirits restaurant was packed with people. 3 whole floors of the restaurant were filled with immortal cultivators. In a corner of the lobby on the first floor, 2 people and a monkey were squeezed together at a small table for 2. They were Huang Xiaoyan, Little Pan Yin, and Xiao Jin. Huang Xiaoyan looked at the crowded lobby on the first floor and said with a hint of relief, "That talisman?" The boss of the restaurant was right. Fortunately, we came early. There's still such a small table that's empty. The dignified Little Pan Yan's nose kept twitching as he said with an intoxicated expression, "I didn't expect the demonic beast meat cooked by a Foundation Establishment cultivator to be so delicious. Even the kitchen's restriction can't isolate it. I heard from Master that demonic beast meat is very useful for our current cultivation. Who knows, we might be able to break through our cultivation." Xiao Jin also closed his eyes and sniffed the fragrance. His ears emitted a faint golden light as he tried to listen to the cooking sounds in the kitchen. Suddenly, Xiao Jin opened his eyes. Huang Xiaoyan and Pan Yin also looked forward. They saw a young man and woman walking in front of them. The man was handsome, and the woman looked quite beautiful. The man seemed to have discovered something surprising and said, "Oh, I didn't expect mortals and wild monkeys to be able to eat the delicacies of the Hundred Spirits restaurant. It's really an eye-opener today. Little Pan Yan's face reddened. He was about to stand up and retort, but Huang Xiaoyun calmly pushed it back down. Huang Xiaoyun activated the basic technique in his meridians, revealing his fourth-layer qi, refining cultivation base. Huang Xiaoyun stood up and said confidently, "We all know the rules of the 100 Spirits restaurant. As long as there is a cultivator in the qi refinement stage leading the way, anyone can enter the first floor. Although my cultivation is low, I am still a cultivator in the middle stage of the qi refinement stage." The handsome man exclaimed softly, "I didn't expect that I would be mistaken. Perhaps, fellow Taoist, your cultivation level is too low. My divine sense and divine sense actually didn't discover you." The woman next to him looked at the slight mana fluctuation on Huang Xiaoyun's body and revealed a look of disdain. Then she looked around and shouted, "Where's the shopkeeper on the first floor? Are you there?" The woman added a bit of magic power to her voice, and her voice spread throughout the entire lobby of the first floor, causing all the qi condensation cultivators on this floor to look in their direction. "They're here! They're here!" A man in a green robe quickly ran over from afar. When he saw the few people in front of him, he immediately knew what was going on. It must be that the man and woman were forcing the weak people at the table to leave so that they could snatch a seat. This kind of thing would happen every month on this day. The shopkeeper on the first floor of the 100 Spirits restaurant clearly knew what was going to happen next. If the weak cultivators didn't have any background, they would definitely be forced to leave. However, he represented the 100 Spirits restaurant after all. Without a special reason, he wouldn't take the initiative to drive away the customers. Therefore, he smiled and asked, "Fellow Taoists, may I know what happened?" The handsome young man pointed at the two people and the monkey in front of him and said, "Shopkeeper, the head chef is cooking today. The price is 3 times higher than usual. Every cultivator who comes here to eat will spend at least 300 spirit stones." The beautiful female cultivator pointed at Huang Xiaoyun and the others and said with disdain, "The two people in front of us, oh no, and the wild monkey. If they want to eat here, they will have to spend at least 1,000 spirit stones. Can a cultivator in the middle stage of the qi refinement realm take out 1,000 spirit stones? We are thinking for the 100 Spirits restaurant. We don't want to lose money when the time comes." The other cultivators in the hall looked at them with interest. Those who could come here to eat were basically cultivators in the late stage of the qi refinement realm. When they heard the woman's words, they nodded in agreement. This fairy is right. We all feel the pinch when we come here to spend money. We don't believe that this kid has so many spirit stones. If he can't pay, these 3 people won't be worth so many spirit stones, even if they are pawned to the 100 Spirits restaurant. The qi refinement realm cultivators who came to the 100 Spirits restaurant all had some status. They felt that it was very extravagant to come here and eat. They didn't think that Huang Xiaoyun, who was in the 4th stage of the qi refinement realm, would have enough spirit stones to bring a mortal and a wild monkey to eat delicious food here. Huang Xiaoyun saw that the surrounding cultivators were looking at them. He recalled the plan that his master had told him and sneered in his heart. Then he stimulated the blood in his body and his face turned red. It was as if everyone was right, and he was too ashamed to show his face. When the shopkeeper of the 100 Spirits restaurant saw this, he frowned and said, "Although the 100 Spirits restaurant doesn't chase away cultivators who come here, my little friend, today's meal costs quite a lot of spirit stones. If you can't take out the spirit stones, please leave first and come back when you have enough spirit stones." When Huang Xiaoyan heard this, he seemed to be provoked and said loudly, "Who said that I can't afford the spirit stones?" After he finished speaking, he took out a bulging storage pouch and poured out more than 20 mid-grade spirit stones, which glittered on the table. This time, all the cultivators in the hall could no longer remain calm. Some of them even let out waves of saliva, swallowing sounds. Am I seeing things? Those are mid-stage spirit stones. I didn't expect this kid to be so rich. No wonder he dares to enter the 100 Spirits restaurant. There were even some cultivators with gloomy expressions who silently memorized the faces of the 2 people and secretly guessed that they had elders following them. The woman who forced Huang Xiaoyan to pay the spirit stones revealed a look of shame and anger. She didn't expect that when she said that this kid didn't have spirit stones, he would take out more than 20 mid-stage spirit stones in an instant. When a man on the side felt the gazes of the cultivators on this floor, his face turned red. He seemed to be angry and directly emitted a wave of spiritual pressure that rushed toward Huang Xiaoyun and the others. When the cultivators who were watching the show felt this aura, they couldn't help but cry out, "Peak chi refinement? That kid is going to suffer." Ordinary mortals would be seriously ill after being hit by this kind of spiritual pressure. That kid at the 4th level of chi refinement is the first to bear the brunt. If he faces it head-on, I'm afraid he will be injured and it will affect his future cultivation. The shopkeeper on the 1st floor of the 100 Spirits restaurant also revealed a look of surprise. He didn't see that the cultivation of this couple was so high. Just as he was thinking about how to deal with the aftermath, the surroundings suddenly quieted down. Then, he felt a strong demonic aura rushing toward him. His expression changed, and he looked forward. Chapter 308. The little monkey, which they had ignored earlier, was not affected by the great circle of Chi Refinement's magic power. It jumped in front of the man and woman. A demonic aura that would cause ordinary Chi condensation cultivators to tremble erupted from the little monkey's body. A Class 1 demonic beast. What? This wild monkey is actually a demonic beast? Exclamations could be heard. A Class 1 demonic beast was much stronger than an ordinary great circle of Chi refinement cultivator. Only 2 or 3 cultivators in the late stage of Chi refinement could defeat it. No, its aura is still rising. Then, under the shocked gazes of the surrounding cultivators, the little monkey's aura directly broke through the Class 1 demonic beast and reached the level of a Class 2 demonic beast. Its aura, which was much stronger than an early-stage foundation establishment cultivator, filled the entire hall. The cultivators at the nearby tables were frightened by this demonic aura and quickly left like birds startled by the twang of a bow. Even the 100 Spirits restaurant shopkeeper, who was not weak, was sweating profusely and took a few steps back. The man and woman in front of the little monkey were even worse. They were directly pressed to the ground by the demonic aura. Their faces were pale as they tried their best to circulate their magic power to resist the ferocious aura. A Class 2 demonic beast. Could it be that it was tamed by that 4th stage Chi refinement cultivator? Are you stupid? It must have been given to them by their elders to protect them. Otherwise, how could that kid have so many spirit stones? Luckily, I met someone I knew and gathered at the same table. Otherwise, I would have had ideas about this table. That was close. If a Class 1 demonic beast could be defeated by 2 or 3 cultivators in the late stage of Chi refinement, then a Class 2 demonic beast was definitely not something a Chi refinement cultivator could deal with. They could not even break through the defense of a Class 2 demonic beast. Fortunately, the little monkey's spiritual pressure disappeared in a flash. It quickly returned to its original appearance and looked like an ordinary beast. However, the cultivators present would not treat it as an ordinary wild monkey. They looked at it with eyes full of fear. After the demonic aura disappeared, the man and woman immediately got up and walked out of the 100 Spirits restaurant. They were afraid that they would be too slow. If this kid held a grudge and let the level 2 demonic beast ambush them outside the market, they would not be able to resist even if they were at the peak of the Chi refinement realm. Seeing the annoying couple leave, Huang Xiaoyan quietly pulled the little monkey from behind and said in a low voice, "Xiao Jin, I already told you not to reveal your demon spiritual energy. Otherwise, if Master finds out about this, he will definitely come looking for us." It wasn't easy for us to sneak out. If we get caught, we'll be miserable. Although Huang Xiaoyan's voice was very soft, the spiritual senses of the cultivators in the hall were not weak. Thus, they were able to hear his words. Many of them revealed looks of understanding. So this brat and his master's spirit beast snuck out. It seems like they have been out for quite some time. No wonder this brat has so many spirit stones, even though he seems to be inexperienced and has such a low cultivation. His master has a level 2 demonic beast as his spirit beast. He might even be a late-stage foundation establishment cultivator. Just as the cultivators were having all sorts of thoughts, the manager on the first floor shouted, "Sorry for the long wait. Our 100 Spirits restaurant's first dish is ready. It's the Poria steel-bristled boar. Steel-bristled boar. It's said that once it matures, it will become a level 1 demonic beast. I didn't expect the first dish to be so extraordinary. We're in for a treat." As the manager shouted, the aroma became stronger and stronger. The cultivators on the first floor became noisy again. They chatted as they ate. No one looked in Huang Xiaoyan's direction again. Huang Xiaoyan, the man, and the beast also buried their heads in the hot pork on the table. Putting aside Huang Xiaoyan's matter, Lu Kuan was currently in his temporary cave abode. He was thinking about the carving of the spirit-controlling array. All my attacks come from my arms. The weapons are held in my hands. All the movements of my wrists are controlled by the muscles of my forearms. Furthermore, the power of the weapons in my hands must be transmitted through the muscles of my forearms. Therefore, the spirit-controlling array must be carved on my arms. After muttering to himself for a while, Lu Kuan turned his gaze to his right forearm. Although the blood marrow powder was successfully refined, there was too little of it. He could only start from one arm. He chose the forearm of his right arm. Back then, the first thunder seal was also carved on his right arm. Following which, he looked at the thunder seal on his forearm and muttered, "The thunder seal is completely different from the spirit-controlling array. It is a mana seal. It is like a law that is deeply imprinted on this area. Unless the arm is broken, it will not disappear." When the thunder seal was used to temper the foundation establishment stage, the outer skin was repeatedly charred and regenerated. However, it did not affect its existence. However, the spirit-controlling array is different. If I carve it on my skin, if I suffer a powerful attack and this part of my skin is burned, the spirit-controlling array will also be destroyed. It seems that I can only carve it on that part. With a plan in mind, Lu Kuan revealed a ruthless expression. He took out a bronze longsword. It exuded a powerful aura. It was a level 3 spiritual longsword. It was the sword of the man from the Sky Rapier sect, whose surname was Shui. Lu Kuan held the longsword in his left hand. He channeled his physical power into it and slashed at his right arm. Clang! A wound appeared on his right forearm. Without any protection, Lu Kuan had restrained his physical defense. The level 3 spiritual weapon was completely capable of cutting open his skin, following which Lu Kuan repeatedly made a few cuts. With a ripping sound, a layer of bronze skin was torn open. Lu Kuan's expression did not change at all. The pain of his skin being torn open was far inferior to that of the thunder sealing array. One had to know that the physical cultivation of physique cultivators tortured their bodies beyond the imagination of ordinary immortal cultivators. Ordinary pain was nothing to him. After Lu Kuan's skin was torn off, there were no red muscles underneath. Instead, there was a layer of light purple membrane. After so many years of physique cultivation, the fascia that connects the skin to the muscles has been tempered to be so strong. The outermost defense of the body is almost entirely supported by it. Lu Kuan's understanding of the structure of the body was different from the immortal cultivators here. The light purple membrane in front of him was the superficial fascia of physiological anatomy. Its main function was to protect the muscles, blood vessels, and nerves deep inside. The superficial fascia of ordinary humans was loose connective tissue composed of fat. However, the superficial fascia of physique cultivators had been tempered into dense connective tissue. It was the part of the body with the strongest external defense. The golden light in Lu Kuan's eyes shone brightly. He looked through the layer of light purple fascia and saw the red muscles behind it. Brachioradialis, flexor carpi radialis, palmaris longus, elbow muscles, flexor carpi ulnaris. Professional terms came out of Lu Kuan's mouth one by one. With my little blood marrow powder, it's impossible to carve a spirit-controlling array on every muscle. Even if I have the ability to destroy the red refining sect, I'm afraid the collected blood refining grass won't be enough. Every time I attack, some muscles contract greatly, but the remaining cooperating muscles change very little. If I carve a spirit-controlling array on several muscles, the spirit-controlling array is likely to lose its effect when I fight. The golden light in Lu Kuan's eyes disappeared. He looked at the layer of white fascia wrapped around the muscles again. This superficial fascia layer is extremely dense, and its defense is stronger than the internal muscles. It wraps around the entire forearm, and it's one piece. Moreover, the deeper fascia between every muscle is also connected to it. The spirit control effect can definitely radiate to the muscles below. Chapter 309. Lu Kuan's Thunder Spirit Root would disappear in less than half a day, but there was still enough time to carve a formation. As for how to carve this spirit-controlling formation, he already had a clear idea. Lu Kuan's magic power surged in his muscles, and a light purple flame directly burned on his skinless forearm. Lu Kuan's layer of light purple fascia was incomparably tough, even tougher than ordinary refining materials. If he were to forcibly carve it, he would only barely be able to form the spirit-controlling formation on the surface of the fascia, which was no different from carving it on the skin. Lu Kuan wanted to carve it in the deepest part of the fascia, where it was close to the muscles. This way, the spirit-controlling formation would be able to exist under the protection of the fascia's powerful defensive power. The spirit-controlling formation, which was almost impossible to destroy in battle, was what Lu Kuan truly wanted. Therefore, he had to use Foundation Establishment True Fire to calcine the fascia like refining materials. After it softened, he would carve the blood marrow powder into its depths. If other cultivators saw Lu Kuan burning his body with the true fire of Dharma power, they would definitely suspect that Lu Kuan was a legendary sentient puppet. However, even Foundation Establishment corpses, puppets, and demonic beasts could only be incinerated after being calcined by Foundation Establishment True Fire for a long time. At this moment, Lu Kuan didn't seem to be in any pain. He only frowned as he looked at the purple flame outside the fascia and muttered, "This won't do." The fascia's defensive power is stronger than the muscles in the depths. Even when I was struck by the Thunderfall technique, the muscles in the fascia were the first to collapse. If I slowly calcine it like this, and if I restrain my magic power and don't repair my body, the fascia won't change, but the muscles inside will be damaged first. But if I control my body's magic power to repair the muscles, then the fascia connected to them will also have the same effect. The previous calcination didn't have any effect at all. After calcine it with Foundation Establishment True Fire for a while, Lu Kuan discovered the problem. Although his true fire was stronger than ordinary Foundation Establishment initial stage cultivators, it couldn't soften the fascia in a short time when faced with a powerful body that had been recultivated. To put it simply, Lu Kuan's fascia was a refining furnace made of sturdy materials. His muscles, bones, and organs were all inside the furnace. What Lu Kuan wanted to do was to use his flames to melt this crafting furnace. If the flames weren't strong and couldn't melt the furnace in a short time, then the internal muscles would be damaged under the heat. However, if he were to cast a restorative spell, his muscles would certainly recover, but the red-hot crafting furnace would also be restored to its original state. If he wanted to melt this refining furnace without damaging his muscles, he could only use a stronger flame to directly melt the furnace in a short time before the heat seeped in. Lu Kuan dispelled the light purple flame on his arm and lowered his head in contemplation. The power of the thunderball that my physical body stimulates is stronger than the true fire of the building foundation stage, but the fascia has also inherited my resistance to thunder and lightning. Using the thunderball to temper it is actually less effective. He revealed a helpless expression. The stronger the body was, the more difficult it was to inscribe spirit-controlling spell formations. Sigh, I can only use those two things. He shook his head and opened his storage bag. He took out a small black cauldron about 2 feet tall. A halo flowed on it, and the words, 9 nether cauldron were engraved on the cauldron. It was obviously not an ordinary item. Lu Kuan found this 9 nether cauldron in Wang Shitong's storage bag. Based on his experience in refining, the 9 nether cauldron was the only valuable item in Wang Shitong's storage bag. It was made from a combination of several heat-resistant materials. And inside the 9 nether cauldron, apart from strange spell formation that he didn't understand, were all spell formations for reinforcement and conduction. Combined with Wang Shitong's previous cultivation, it showed that this 9 nether cauldron was used by Wang Shitong to refine pills. It could withstand the core fire of a core formation cultivator. After putting the 9 nether cauldron in front of him, Lu Kuan clenched his teeth and took out a light red talisman from his storage bag. This talisman, as soon as he took it out, there was a strong wave of fire attribute fluctuations. It was the Raging Flame spell talisman that Lu Kuan bought in Nanfo Market. Lu Kuan had heard of this Raging Flame spell long ago. It was a peak intermediate level spell with extremely strong attack power. Although it was much weaker than the lightning spell, it was still one of the strongest intermediate level spells in terms of attack power. The liquid magic power in Lu Kuan's left hand surged, and the talisman that was worth 10,000 spirit stones was absorbed. He struck the black cauldron. Boom! An extremely hot, deep red flame rose from the 9 nether cauldron. If Wang Shitong knew that I used his 9 nether cauldron as a furnace, he'd probably come back to life from anger. Shaking his head and feeling the power of the Raging Flame spell, Lu Kuan's eyes blossomed with a fierce glint. He directly peeled off the skin on his forearm and placed it above the flame. At the same time, he suppressed the surrounding muscle magic. With a crackling sound, the flame seemed to have a mind of its own. A part of it separated from the 9 nether cauldron and wrapped around Lu Kuan's forearm. This peak intermediate level fire spell burned the surface layer of the fascia in a short while. The originally incomparably tight fascia began to change. Lu Kuan's expression was calm. Even his burning right arm didn't tremble. He carefully felt the changes in the fascia and directly opened the congealed fat jade bottle with his left hand. At the same time, he withdrew his right arm. At this time, the light purple fascia changed from its originally tight, armor-like state to soft. There was still a trace of red flame on his arm that hadn't burned out. Lu Kuan waved his left hand. The blood marrow powder that had just been refined, under the control of his powerful consciousness, circled around his forearm and fluttered like red fireflies. In the blink of an eye, these red fireflies arranged themselves into a very complicated circular formation. Lu Kuan had been carving spirit-controlling formations since the Qi condensation stage. He had long been familiar with the principles and changes of this formation. Changing it into a circular formation was a piece of cake. Moreover, after entering the foundation establishment stage, the power of his consciousness was close to the late foundation establishment stage. In these years, he had studied the spirit carving technique left behind by Martial Uncle Zhu in his spare time. His ability to carve formations was much stronger than before. In a short while, the 9 nether cauldron and the flame on Lu Kuan's forearm were exhausted and disappeared. Lu Kuan's powerful consciousness burst out in a flash. The circular formation surrounding his forearm suddenly froze and then rushed into the softened light purple fascia. The timing was perfect. The circular formation arranged by the blood marrow powder was driven into the deepest part of the fascia. Then, the liquid mana in Lu Kuan's other parts of his body surged towards his forearm. After a surge of mana, the fascia on his right forearm quickly returned to its tight state. Even the outermost skin began to slowly grow back. After about the time it took to burn a stick of incense, Lu Kuan's right arm returned to its normal state. I didn't expect it to be completed so easily. This should be called the spirit-controlling arm. Thinking of the set of level 2 magic artifacts and several mid-level and mid-level talismans, in exchange for the blood coagulation grass and the blaze talisman that had dissipated its power in the 9 nether cauldron, Lu Kuan revealed a somewhat bitter smile. The cost of carving this time was not small. Chapter 310. In the Hundred Spirits restaurant, Xiao Jin and Little Pan Yin ate until their mouths were covered in oil, and their faces were filled with happiness. Huang Xiaoyan also had a very enjoyable expression as he buried his head in eating a huge chicken drumstick. Some of the cultivators in the hall were somewhat uneasy as they ate. These people glanced at Huang Xiaoyan's table from time to time. When they saw that these people were not vigilant at all and were enjoying the delicious food, their hearts became even more fervent. Huang Xiaoyan's heart was as clear as a mirror. Although he was young, what he had learned the most during his years of escaping was how to hide himself. At this moment, he was pretending to be an innocent and handsome young man. In fact, he was sneering in his heart. I'm now at the 6th level of the Vajra esoteric art, and my progress in cultivating the spirit sensing technique is not bad. I can clearly feel that there are at least 7 or 8 Qi refinement realm cultivators secretly observing us on this floor. Little Pan Yin doesn't have a shred of understanding of the cruelty of the cultivation world and is completely acting as himself. Eldest senior brother's divine ability is powerful, and he doesn't care about these Qi refinement realm cultivators at all. Even if they are foundation establishment realm cultivators, they won't be able to catch eldest senior brother if they don't understand his divine ability. Master is indeed master. I don't know how he thought of this. This move is indeed brilliant. After the Qi condensation cultivators know of Xiao Jin's existence, they definitely won't have any thoughts. Then, the few people who are watching us right now, I'm afraid there are foundation establishment elders in the market, and they're also powerful foundation establishment cultivators. After we leave in a while, they will definitely follow us quietly. They might even find an opportunity to leave a mark on us. The spirit stones on me are bait to tempt Qi refinement realm cultivators. Eldest senior brother is a level 2 demonic beast, which is also a great temptation to foundation establishment realm cultivators. Furthermore, I might have stolen master's spirit stones. With this thought in mind, Huang Xiaoyan threw the chicken drumstick that was almost finished in his hand to the side and shouted rather heroically, "Shopkeeper, the bill! Coming!" The green-robed man from before quickly walked over. At the same time, many cultivators also looked in their direction. "Young friend, what you've eaten is a total of 1,230 spiritual stones. I don't want to change. 1,200 spiritual stones will do." Huang Xiaoyan nodded, took out the storage pouch, and opened it with his right hand. At this moment, the muscles and nerves in Huang Xiaoyun's hand clearly sensed no less than 10 divine senses probing this place. This time, Huang Xiaoyun's heart relaxed instead. He fumbled around inside and took out 12 mid-grade spirit stones. Pretending to be somewhat nervous, he quickly tied up the storage pouch, looked around, and put it back on his waist. "Shopkeeper, keep the spirit stones here well. Your demonic beast meat is indeed not famous. I'll come back again next time. We'll take our leave first." After saying that, Huang Xiaoyan called out to the chubby Pan Yin and Xiao Jin and walked out. "Young friend, take care. You're welcome to come again next time." The shopkeeper of the Hundred Spirits restaurant said this, but in his heart, he was thinking, "I'm afraid this young fellow won't come again next time. The immortal cultivation world is so cruel. However, if this young fellow can survive, I'm afraid he will understand the laws of the immortal cultivation world and gain a lot of experience. Shopkeeper, the bill. We'll pay the bill here too." Just as Huang Xiaoyun and the others walked out of the Hundred Spirits restaurant, the voices of several cultivators urging them to pay the bill could be heard from the first floor. "Don't be in such a hurry. Come one by one. I'm the only one on the first floor." After coming out with Pan Yin, Huang Xiaoyan immediately inquired about the location of the biggest merchant in the market from some cultivators on the side of the road. After getting the answer, he happily walked towards the place. After a while, several cultivators came out of the Hundred Spirits restaurant. The sharp-eyed ones directly followed Huang Xiaoyun in the distance, while the others walked to other places in the market. Huang Xiaoyun and the others ate for half a day in the Hundred Spirits restaurant. Meanwhile, Lu Kun, who was in the temporary cave abode, had already waited for the spirit root to disappear. With a swish, a purple thunderball appeared in front of Lu Kuan's right arm. It emitted a strong wave of magic. Then, the magic on his arm fluctuated slightly, and the thunderball instantly disappeared without a trace. Not bad. There's no feeling of stagnation when I release my magic. It's almost the same as when the spirit root appears. It's much better than the spirit-controlling armor. Feeling that the casting of the magic was successful, Lu Kuan was full of excitement. In the future, he could attack his opponents without any restraint. His physical defense was now much stronger than the spirit-controlling armor. Wearing the spirit-controlling armor would restrict his movements. Then, Lu Kuan took out the lightning hammers. These lightning hammers were made by Zhao Jinhong of the Shangqing sect, according to the refining method in the Shangqing lightning-controlling true spell. It was a set of level 3 magic equipment that matched the cultivation technique perfectly. His Imperial Thunder training technique was also comprehended from the Shangqing lightning-controlling true spell. This pair of lightning hammers was the magic equipment that he was most comfortable to use. Whether it was the material of the lightning hammers or the amplification of thunder-type magic, it allowed him to maximize the power of the Imperial Thunder training technique. Then, Lu Kuan controlled the magic in his forearm muscles and injected it into the lightning hammers. What's going on? The liquid magic on Lu Kuan's forearm was surging, but there was no movement on the lightning hammers. He swung his arm repeatedly, and the magic on the lightning hammers fluctuated. Feeling the instability of the magic equipment, his gaze gradually moved from the lightning hammers to his forearm. Then, he experimented a few more times and finally found the reason why the lightning hammers fluctuated. It turned out that when the handle of the lightning hammers was below the wrist joint and close to the forearm, the lightning hammers would be activated by magic. And when the handle of the lightning hammers was completely above the wrist joint, which was the palm of the hand, the lightning hammers did not have the slightest reaction, and there was no way to transmit magic. Lu Kuan frowned and put away the lightning hammers. Then he took out 3 pieces of fire, wood, and water attribute spirit stones and held them in his right palm. No, there's no way to absorb the spiritual energy in the spirit stones. It seems that the reason is in my wrist joint, but the fascia of the forearm is connected to the palm. It seems that after becoming a body refinement immortal cultivator, some of the previous dissection knowledge is not very accurate. After Lu Kuan experimented, he found that the spirit-controlling array in the fascia could control the entire forearm muscles, and the range could even spread out. It was different from the previous spirit-controlling armor. The bone joints would block the spirit-controlling array, and it could not be transmitted to the palm. If that's the case, then I have to inscribe spirit-controlling arrays in 4 places at the very least to ensure combat effectiveness. 2 forearms, 2 palms, 2 calves, and 2 feet. If I want to ensure that I can maintain the spirit-controlling array throughout my body, then I have to inscribe 6 places on the 4 limbs. As for the torso, I can't be sure, but there should be no less than 6 places. Then, Lu Kuan took out the congealed jade bottle and looked at the remaining blood marrow powder. He revealed a somewhat relieved expression and said, "This bit of blood marrow powder is not enough to complete the spirit-controlling array on the other forearm, but it's more than enough for the palm. It seems that when I refine the left arm in the future, I have to inscribe the spirit-controlling array on the palm at the same time. With my consciousness, I can completely control it, and I can even save a blaze spell talisman. So I have to waste a top-grade spell talisman this time? Fine." Muttering to himself, Lu Kuan took out the bronze longsword again. 9 nether cauldron, blaze spell talisman. Although Rellingan disappeared, the spirit-controlling arm was still there. Chapter 3:11. At a place on the border between the Dongxi state and the Southern Marsh state, 2 youths and a little monkey were standing beside a cliff, looking at the shocking scene in front of them with their mouths agape. The cliff under their feet was extremely long, and both ends seemed to extend endlessly. It was impossible to see the end of the cliff with the naked eye. Hundreds of feet below the cliff was a vast and boundless forest swamp. The trees inside were sometimes dense and sometimes sparse, like stars decorating a green swamp lake. The lush branches were reflected on the mirror-like water surface, forming a beautiful picture with a blue sky that they had never seen before in the Way Kingdom. One or two brown otters would appear from time to time in the bright water, holding fat fish in their mouths. In the dense forest in the distance, there were even fierce roars coming from afar. The Southern Marsh State is right in front. Such a boundless swamp is unheard of in the Way Kingdom. This is really an eye-opener. Huang Xiaoyan looked at the scene in front of him with his eyes wide open and smacked his lips. Little Pan Yin and even Little Jean nodded in agreement with this statement. Little Pan Yin looked at an unknown bird gliding on the green swamp lake below and said casually, "Oh right, senior brother, why isn't Master here yet? We've been waiting for a while." Huang Xiaoyan was stunned when he heard that. His face was a little pale as he stammered, "I almost forgot. Master told me to wait for his voice transmission talisman before we leave the market." And in my excitement, I didn't wait for Master's voice transmission talisman and came out directly. Little Pan Yin asked strangely, "Then let's wait here for a while. Even if Master is cultivating, he won't cultivate for too long. I'm afraid we can't wait that long," Huang Xiaoyan said worriedly with an anxious expression. In his panic, he did not notice Xiao Jin's indifferent expression. At this moment, two flying boats flew over from afar. They were not slow. Huang Xiaoyan, who had dealt with Foundation Establishment cultivators before, could tell at a glance that this was the speed of a Foundation Establishment cultivator. Moreover, their cultivation was definitely above the early stage of Foundation Establishment. Thinking of his performance in the market 2 days ago, Huang Xiaoyan's eyes dimmed, and he muttered, "I was careless. I should have waited for Master's reply. Based on what I showed, it's very likely that it's a late-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator." Soon, the two figures emitting powerful auras under Pan Yan's curious gaze landed about 7 to 8 feet in front of them. One of them was a short man with shifty eyes and a mustache. He took a careful look at Huang Xiaoyan's group. Old Taoist," he said, and that little. The one called Old Taoist was the middle-aged Taoist priest beside him. He wore a Taoist robe and had a sanctimonious expression. The Taoist priest shook his head and said, "Old Jew, don't you understand my disciple? He's extremely greedy. He definitely won't deceive us when it comes to matters of profit. As for whether or not they have a large amount of spirit stones and magic tools, we'll know once we kill them. As for this little monkey, even if it's a third-grade demon beast, it's definitely not a match for us two middle-stage Foundation Establishment cultivators." Huang Xiaoyan heard the words of the two middle-stage Foundation Establishment cultivators and let out a sigh of relief. He looked at Xiao Jin's extremely calm monkey face and revealed an expression of understanding. "I almost forgot. If there's a strong opponent, eldest senior brother will definitely remind me. I heard from second senior brother that eldest senior brother can use magic tools and is much stronger than ordinary second-grade demon beasts. Dealing with these two greedy middle-stage Foundation Establishment cultivators shouldn't be a problem at all." Just as Huang Xiaoyan was thinking and planning to give the magic tools in his storage bag to Xiao Jin, Little Pan Yin suddenly said, "Hey, why do you two want to kill us? We have no enmity with you." When Huang Xiaoyan heard Pan Yan's words, his hand that was reaching for his storage bag paused. A black line seemed to flash across his forehead, and his expression was somewhat awkward. The two middle-stage Foundation Establishment cultivators opposite him were also stunned. Then, under Little Pan Yan's baffled gaze, they burst into laughter. Pan Yan's face was full of confusion. "What are you laughing at?" The Taoist priest took a long time to recover. He said to the dignified Little Pan Yin, "Little brat, you're just a mortal. You actually dare to speak to us Foundation Establishment cultivators like this. This courage is not bad, much stronger than when I was young. However, your intelligence is worrying. As for why, blame it on the fact that you don't understand the principle of not showing off your wealth. Old Taoist Fong, what's the point of chatting with a mortal like him? Hurry up and kill them." Hey, what did I just see? A middle-stage, chi refining brat actually dares to show off his magic tools to Foundation establishment cultivators. This is a level 1 spiritual magic tool. For a chi refining cultivator to use it, it's really a waste of natural resources. The man surnamed Zhu had a strange expression on his face as he watched Huang Xiaoyan take out 2 long black rods. But when he saw that the rods were grade 1 spiritual immortal treasures, his eyes lit up with greed. Huang Xiaoyan said, "I'm definitely not your match. However, these magic tools are not for me to use." As soon as he finished speaking, he threw the matchless staff that Lu Kuan had specially placed on his body forward. Eldest senior brother, take the staff. The 2 cultivators' expressions changed. They saw the little monkey that they thought was an ordinary wild beast suddenly expand. At the same time, a strong demonic aura rushed towards them. Not good. A level 2 demonic beast. At the same time, the ape jumped, grabbed the 2 staffs in the air, and scuttled towards the 2 middle stage Foundation establishment cultivators. Sensing the demonic aura on the ape's body and seeing its red and excited eyes, old Taoist Fong and the man surnamed Zhu hurriedly summoned their own magic tools and blocked this extremely strange demonic monkey that could use magic tools. Dang, dang, dang. The sound of magic tools colliding could be heard. Huang Xiaoyan stood at the edge of the cliff and looked at the mighty Xiao Jin. He was still worried and looked around cautiously. He didn't think that there would only be 2 middle-stage Foundation establishment cultivators. Perhaps there would be more coming. Previously, in the southeast market square, his muscles and nerves had sensed that he had been targeted by at least 3 groups of people. Huang Xiaoyan could only hope that this great eldest senior brother could easily determine the number of cultivators coming. At this moment, little Pan Yan's face was full of confusion. He seemed to not see the scene in front of him and muttered to himself. It seemed that his heart was not calm. Just as Huang Xiaoyun and Pan Yan were pondering, the 2 middle stage Foundation establishment cultivators' expressions became more and more serious. Some sweat even appeared on their foreheads. Damn it, how is this a level 2 demonic beast? Its attack power is no different from a level 3 demonic beast. My weapon is only a level 1 spiritual immortal treasure. Every time I hit it, it was repelled by this monkey's staff. Old Zhu, the stronger this monkey is, the more it means that the little brat must have more good things on him. You saw just now? He casually took out 2 level 1 spiritual immortal treasures. Chapter 3:12. When Xiao Jin saw that the man, surnamed Zhu, was a little distracted, his red eyes suddenly lit up. He spun the 2 sticks in his hands and exploded with an even stronger force, sending the opponent's 2 Dharma artifacts flying again. Then, under the incredulous gazes of the 2 mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivators, he combined the 2 sticks into one, and an even larger pitch-black stick appeared in his hands. At the same time, a yellow light flashed under Xiao Jin's feet, and his speed increased explosively. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the man, surnamed Zhu. That extremely ferocious demonic aura made the mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator break out in cold sweat. He hurriedly locked onto a Dharma artifact in his storage bag. Boom! Before he could summon his Dharma artifact, the giant stick burning with yellow demonic fire bombarded the man, surnamed Zhu's shield, breaking the shield that was not considered solid. Then, the demonic fire on the stick followed the momentum and burned the mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator into ashes. Then, under the control of Xiao Jin, the unparalleled giant stick swept horizontally and hit the defensive talisman that had just been cast on old Taoist Fong's body. Clang! There was a loud sound. The old Taoist priest was sent flying along with his shield. Fortunately, he used an intermediate level talisman. Although it was extremely dim, it was not broken. Just as old Taoist Fong was channeling his Dharma powers and trying to control the Dharma artifacts in the distance to return a help, Xiao Jin had already split the giant sticks into 2 and held one in each hand. A yellow light flashed under his feet as he followed old Taoist Fong closely. His muscular arms exploded with lightning speed and attacked old Taoist Fong's defensive shield with the two sticks. Bang, bang, bang. Waves of tremors came from the two giant black sticks, causing the old Taoist priest's chi and blood to churn. His Dharma powers and divine sense were the same. Under such interference, the Dharma artifacts in the distance were flying shakily and could not come over to defend in a short period of time. Bang! In just a few breaths of time, under Xiao Jin's powerful and fast attacks, old Taoist Fong's mid-level defensive barrier had long been broken. The mid-level foundation establishment barrier that he had supported with all his strength also gradually dimmed. Xiao Jin had followed Lu Kuan for so many years, so he didn't lack any combat experience as a body cultivator. He made good use of the body cultivator's surprise and variety of close-range combat methods. In a short period of time, he eliminated one foundation establishment middle-stage cultivator and suppressed the other to the point of imminent danger. Looking at old Taoist Fong, who was trying his best to take out the next Dharma artifact, Xiao Jin clasped his hands together, and the huge pitch-black rod appeared once again. Old Taoist Fong, along with his dimmed shield, was beaten beyond recognition. He fell to the ground and died. But at this moment, Xiao Jin's ears twitched and a red light flashed in its eyes. It suddenly separated the unparalleled rod and crossed the two rods in front of its body. A huge square-shaped seal appeared out of thin air. It was imbued with a terrifying might as it crashed into Xiao Jin, who had just assumed a defensive posture. Boom! Under this stone seal, the ape was easily sent flying, just like old Taoist Fong. It landed not far away from Huang Xiaoyan and the others. Xiao Jin half-knelt on the ground. Its arms were trembling slightly, and the unparalleled rod fell to the ground. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of its mouth as it stared at the huge stone seal. Its face was full of shock and bewilderment. With its spiritual ear, it had already heard the two cultivators approaching. Xiao Jin relied on its ability to hear the movements of its opponents and ignored them. Instead, it used all its strength to kill the two mid-level foundation establishment middle-stage cultivators. However, it didn't expect the power of the two cultivators' Dharma seals to be so terrifying that it was injured in one blow. Under Xiao Jin's gaze, the Dharma seal split into two slightly smaller seals and landed in front of the two men in purple robes. The young man looked at Xiao Jin, who was vomiting blood, and frowned. "Father, what kind of demonic beast is this?" "It's only at the second level. Under the attack of the overturning sky seal, it was only injured but not killed." The other middle-aged man, who looked very similar to him, chuckled. "We used a set of level 3 Dharma artifacts and the overturning sky seal with powerful attack power, but we still couldn't kill it. This means that its physical body and fur are definitely extraordinary. It's definitely worth more spirit stones." When Huang Xiaoyan heard the word set of level 3 Dharma artifacts, his heart skipped a beat. He cursed inwardly. Those who could use a set of level 3 Dharma artifacts were definitely cultivators in the late stage of the foundation establishment stage. The two people in front of him were father and son. The timing of the attack was just right when his eldest senior brother was exhausted. If it wasn't for the giant rod blocking a portion of the power, his eldest senior brother's injuries would have been even more serious. Then, Huang Xiaoyan saw Xiao Jin's unflustered expression. He was delighted. Eldest senior brother and master have a blood connection. At this moment, he's not flustered at all. Could it be that master is about to arrive? The middle-aged man looked at Xiao Jin, who was half kneeling on the ground, and said coldly, "Son, kill them all. Even if that brat doesn't have that many spirit stones, this demonic beast is already worth it." After saying that, the father and son's bodies shone with a bright light. The rich magic power of the late stage of the foundation establishment stage was stimulated. The two small stone seals gradually grew bigger and merged together to become the overturning sky seal. A powerful spiritual pressure was emitted. But at this moment, an extremely fast spirit shuttle appeared in the distant sky. It was flying rapidly towards them, causing the father and son to stop. A cultivator in the early stage of the foundation establishment stage, a mere early stage of the foundation establishment stage, dares to pull a tooth from the tiger's mouth. The young man suddenly rubbed his eyes and said doubtfully, "Father, are my eyes playing tricks on me? That person doesn't seem to have a flying Dharma artifact." "Impossible. I clearly saw a spirit shuttle flying over just now." The middle-aged man looked carefully and found that this cultivator did not have a spirit shuttle. His whole body seemed to be flying towards them by the inertia of flight. The middle-aged man sneered. "Since this person is courting death, it's not up to us, son." "Understood." The father and son really cooperated with each other tacitly. The overturning sky seal that was about to press down on the little monkey changed direction and blocked in front of the father and son. The overturning sky seal that was about 10 feet in size looked indestructible, as solid as the earth. And the human who was about to fall was like a small and stupid creature, seeking his own death in front of this powerful Dharma artifact. Foundation establishment stage, cultivators were unable to fly in the air. The father and son were even imagining that this person would be smashed into a meat patty by the overturning sky seal, or directly turn into ashes. Their faces began to show a somewhat bloodthirsty smile, and their expressions were exactly the same. At the same time, the small figure in the air suddenly emitted a purple light, and his speed increased. At the same time, a purple thunderhammer appeared in his hand. Like an ant trying to shake a tree, he crashed into the overturning sky seal that was much larger than him. Boom! Not waiting for the bloodthirsty expression on the father and son's face to take shape, an amazing force came out of the overturning sky seal. Then this seemingly huge overturning sky seal, as if it was pressed down by a giant hand, without any resistance, it was pushed back towards the master behind it. At the same time, a glaring purple light surged out, wrapping the overturning sky seal. Lightning and sparks wantonly, dazzling to the extreme. At this moment, the overturning sky seal divided into 2 small seals that fell to the ground, revealing the figures of the father and son. Only to see them vomiting blood, their bodies charred black, lying on the ground, unable to move, a dim Dharma chi shield outside their body. Just when the situation reversed, they had just propped up the Dharma chi shield, which was full of their own Dharma chi, and was pressed down by the overturning sky seal. At the same time, the terrifying brute force of the overturning sky seal shattered all the bones in their body. If it were not for the existence of the fluctuations of the spiritual sense and the weak Dharma chi shield, the father and son would look like dead people, and the previously seemingly small figure calmly landed on the ground. A purple light flashed under his feet, and in the blink of an eye, he appeared beside the father and son, and the huge purple thunderhammer hammered down. Pung, pung, pung. Bursts of dust rose on the ground. Huang Xiaoyun and the others felt the vibration of the ground, and in their hearts they could not help but mourn for the late foundation establishment stage father and son. In a short time, the spiritual sense fluctuations of the father and son disappeared. Chapter 3:13. Lu Kuan stretched out his hand and caught the 2 small seals on the ground. He looked at the dead father and son on the ground and shook his head regretfully. This kind of powerful magic item is the dream of a body cultivator. It's a pity that it's a seal and can't be used to attack. They underestimated me too much. If they combined this set of level 3 seals and attacked me, they wouldn't have been defeated so quickly. Just now, Lu Kuan used the spiritual shuttle's inertia to rush down from a height of hundreds of feet. Although the power was much weaker than the 300 feet that day, the power was still amazing. Even if he didn't use the giant arm theurgy, the impact combined with his brute force and lightning hammer had already surpassed a level 3 combined magic item. The father and son knew nothing about the fighting methods of body cultivators. They poured their mana into the cataclysmic seal and waited for Lu Kuan to die, who knew that Lu Kuan's physical strength was far beyond their imagination. The fierce power directly flipped the cataclysmic seal over. It could be said that they were seriously injured by the power of the cataclysmic seal and Lu Kuan's power. In the end, the two of them, whose bones were broken, could only face Lu Kuan, who was in full condition with a dim mana shield and could only die with hatred. Lu Kuan put away the two storage bags and walked in the direction of Xiao Jin. Squeak, squeak. At this moment, Xiao Jin panted and pointed in a direction. His monkey face was full of surprise. Lu Kuan's face changed when he heard this. His consciousness activated the golden eye theurgy, and his eyes emitted a faint golden light. He looked like a god and looked in the direction Xiao Jin pointed. He sneered. Purple light flashed on his right arm, and lightning curled around it. The lightning gathered on his right palm in an instant and formed 5 lightning balls. Under the control of his consciousness, the 5 lightning balls were like a chain of cannonballs, hitting an open space about 100 feet away. Boom! All the lightning balls exploded and formed a small thunderstorm, enveloping the faint figure in this place. From the power of this small thunderstorm, it was no less than any mid-level spell. Fellow Taoist, Lu's lightning-type Dharma spells are truly perfect. You can use such a fusion Dharma spell so casually. The lightning gradually dissipated, revealing a woman in a fiery red robe who was protected by a crimson barrier. Her face was beautiful, her eyes were bright, and her figure was voluptuous. The loose robe she wore was curvaceous, and she was looking at Lu Kuan with a smile. When Lu Kuan saw this face, he said in surprise, "Fire Lady?" The woman chuckled and said, "That's me." At a glance, he recognized the host of the underground trade fair in Nanfeng Market, and he would not forget this female cultivator's cultivation base of the Great Circle of Foundation Establishment, as well as the suspected identity of a talisman master. Spiritual light flashed in his right hand, and a purple lightning hammer appeared in his hand. "Fairy, you've been spying for a while, right? Could it be that you're also interested in Lu's spiritual beasts and spiritual stones?" The Fire Lady seemed relaxed, but when Lu Kuan took out the lightning hammer, her pupils clearly contracted, and she secretly mobilized the powerful mana of the Great Circle of Foundation Establishment. She saw that Lu Kuan did not immediately make a move, and slowly took 2 steps back, saying, "I saw 2 used by chance in the Southeast Market, and discovered that their build was exactly the same as the 2 who followed you that day. Out of curiosity, I followed to take a look." Following that, the Fire Lady said extremely solemnly, "I didn't expect that other than having a core formation stage elder, you're also so powerful. Even the Chao father and son were not your match." Lu Kuan did not pay attention to this sentence. His eyes narrowed, and his voice carried a trace of coldness as he said, "It seems that you saw all of my battles." The Fire Lady's eyes flickered as she said, "When I came, I just happened to see the Chao father and son lying on the ground without a sound. It must be you who killed them." Then, as if praising Lu Kuan, she said, "You must know that the father and son are extremely famous among the Foundation Establishment stage cultivators in this area. With the Sky Flipping Seal, even normal Great Circle of Foundation Establishment cultivators are not their match. For you to be able to kill them, you're truly remarkable." The mana fluctuations on Lu Kuan's body dissipated, and he said indifferently, "If that's the case, then Lu Kuan will take his leave first. We'll meet again someday." The Fire Lady's heart relaxed. Just as she was about to cup her hands and say something, she discovered that the power of thunder and lightning erupted from Lu Kuan's feet. His entire body shot towards her like an arrow. She secretly cursed in her heart for being cunning. Her body surged with vigorous fire attribute mana fluctuations, and a wall of fire appeared out of thin air, emitting scorching heat, and rushed towards Lu Kuan's direction. At the same time, she muttered an incantation, and a basin-sized crimson fireball formed in front of her. She immediately waved her hand. This gigantic fireball flew forward and hit Lu Kuan, who had just passed through the wall of fire. Boom! After the gigantic fireball hit the opponent, it immediately exploded. Lu Kuan's burly body was not only blown back by the powerful explosion of the fireball, but he was also blown more than 10 feet into the air. Then, a crimson longsword that emitted a powerful aura followed closely and attacked Lu Kuan in midair. In fact, the Fire Lady had already arrived here after the Qiao father and son injured Xiao Jin. Using a mid-level high-grade concealment talisman, she, who was invisible, saw the entire process of Lu Kuan killing the Qiao father and son. This woman was incomparably shocked. Even with her true strength, it was not easy to deal with the father and son, let alone Lu Kuan, who was only in the early foundation establishment stage. No matter what, she was still a cultivator who had cultivated to the perfected foundation establishment stage and had rich combat experience. Soon, she saw the characteristics of Lu Kuan's cultivation technique from the means he had displayed. His physical body was as terrifying as a demonic beast's. Coupled with the Dharma weapon in his hand, he was definitely like a demonic beast, attacking his opponent in close combat. Lu Kuan's strange footwork during the battle also made the Fire Lady very vigilant. Therefore, when the two sides started to fight, she treated Lu Kuan as an ordinary level 4 demonic beast with extraordinary attack power and speed. The Fire Lady's several attacks were very well connected. Unfortunately, she knew too little about Lu Kuan. Thunder exploded under Lu Kuan's feet, and his whole body grew a few feet taller. He held a huge thunder hammer with both hands and hammered down on the crimson longsword below him. Clang! The crimson longsword trembled and fell down. There was still lightning lingering on it. Even the Fire Lady, who was at the perfected foundation establishment stage, could not control it for a few breaths of time. After knocking down the flying sword, Lu Kuan shot towards the Fire Lady like lightning amidst the sound of thunder. At the same time, under his control, a huge thunderball appeared on the surface of the thunderhammer. When the Fire Lady saw that Lu Kuan could fly, she took out a red magic fan without hesitation. A halo flowed on the surface of the fan. When she took it out, the faint cry of a phoenix could be heard. Seeing Lu Kuan attacking her, the Fire Lady's face turned pale. She frantically poured her magic power and divine sense into the magic fan. At this time, the fluctuations that erupted from her exceeded that of an ordinary cultivator at the perfected foundation establishment stage. Then, in the loud cry of a flaming phoenix flew out from the magic fan and collided with the purple figure coming towards her. The thunder and fire collided. In the blink of an eye, the flaming phoenix was extinguished and the thunderball drowned Lu Kuan. Then, the flaming phoenix exploded. The figure inside seemed to have suffered a heavy blow and was sent flying. Lu Kuan, who was char black, somersaulted in the air and used the power of the explosion to land steadily beside Xiao Jin and the others. His face was extremely ugly. His body trembled slightly, and he spat out 3 words with difficulty. Chapter 314. The Fire Lady's face was slightly pale, and the mana waves on her body seemed to be rather stable. She stared at Lu Kuan, who could still speak, with an extremely shocked expression. However, she did not answer Lu Kuan's question, but continued to activate the magic fan in her hand. Seeing this, Lu Kuan threw out a white spirit shuttle without saying a word, throwing the dazzled disciples and the injured Xiao Jin onto it. Then, under the activation of his mana, the spirit shuttle flew towards the southern marsh region behind the cliff. His actions were completed in the blink of an eye, and the Fire Lady was dumbfounded. As Lu Kuan disappeared from her sight, the lady holding the magic fan opened her red lips and spat out a mouthful of blood. Her cheeks became extremely pale, and the mana in her body instantly weakened. That guy should be seriously injured, or else he would not have escaped without a word. The Fire Lady thought of how Lu Kuan escaped without hesitation and heaved a sigh of relief. I didn't expect that guy's strength to be even more terrifying than I imagined. Just now, I activated the secret technique and used the power of a pseudo-magic treasure. Although the attack was slightly weaker than that of a core formation cultivator, this power was enough to kill a 4th-level demon beast. Not only did he face it head-on, but he also survived. On the surface, he only had superficial burns. Looks like he has a trump card to save his life. As the Fire Lady spoke, she took an elixir. The weak mana in her body gradually stabilized, and her face gradually turned red. After a short while, she opened her bright eyes, which were filled with bitterness. Originally, I would have been able to reach the core formation requirement after cultivating for another 2 years. Using this secret technique has caused me to lose a lot of vitality. Sigh, looks like I still need another 5 years. At this moment, a flying boat flew over from nearby. After seeing the Fire Lady's fiery red figure, it flew straight over. Soon, a young man and woman walked down from the airship. They bowed respectfully to the Fire Lady and said, "Master." If Huang Xiaoyun and the others were here, they would realize that this couple was the 2 cultivators who had tried to drive them away in the 100 Spirits restaurant. Unexpectedly, they were the disciples of the Fire Lady. The Fire Lady asked curiously, "Why are you guys here?" One of the young men bowed and said respectfully, "Master, we met Marshal Uncle Gene at the Southeast Market. He said he was sent by the sect to urge Master to return early." The Fire Lady frowned and said, "Those old guys in the sect actually sent old Gene to rush me. Could it be that something big has happened? Damn it, if I had met old Gene earlier and came with him, that Lu guy wouldn't have left so easily." The charming woman mumbled to herself. Her expression was one of unwillingness. Because of the battle just now, she had delayed her core formation by a few years. Any cultivator would be driven crazy by this. The chi condensation woman couldn't help but ask, "Master, could it be that the person behind those 2 brats is really the one from the Nanfo market?" The Fire Lady's expression was a bit unsightly. She said, "It is indeed that guy. Unfortunately, he escaped. Now it seems that the thing that Wan Bao Lu obtained by chance has a very small chance of falling into his hands. It is more likely that it was obtained by the core formation cultivator behind him." The chi condensation man and woman seemed a bit excited. They thought of the thing they had heard some time ago and couldn't help but say, "Could it be that?" The Fire Lady snorted and said, "Even our Heavenly Talisman sect only has 2 or 3 of those things. Even if you guys reach the foundation establishment stage, you still don't have the qualifications to use it. Don't think too much about it. Cultivate well and wait for the next opportunity. Get on my blazing Phoenix airship. I have to ask old Gene what happened in the sect." After that, the 3 of them boarded a crimson-red flying boat and sped towards the Southeast Market. Lu Kuan, who had already flown 5 kilometers away, stood in front of the spirit shuttle. The charred black skin on the outside of his body gradually faded away, revealing the new tender, white skin inside. The cultivation world of the Chu country is indeed much stronger than that of the Wei country. A female foundation establishment stage cultivator that I met by chance already has a pseudo-magic treasure. For a real magic treasure, liquid Dharma power can't unleash a trace of power at all. But a pseudo-magic treasure can be activated by a foundation establishment stage cultivator. One must know that the value of the materials used to refine pseudo-magic treasures is almost the same as a real magic treasure. She can have one, which shows that she is very wealthy. It seems that she really is a talisman master. Unfortunately, even if I have a pseudo-magic treasure, my physical Dharma power is too weak and I can't activate it. While talking to himself, Lu Kuan's physical body had already recovered to its original state. The power released by the flaming magic fan was much stronger than the Thunderfall technique. Lu Kuan relied on the lightning hammer and the defensive thunder shield to barely withstand it. He looked at the red spirit controlling array in the depths of his right palm and right arm, and said with some relief, "If I continue to use the spirit controlling armor, it would definitely be destroyed by now. But there is no problem with carving my physical body." "All right, Xiao Yun, did you buy any blood coagulation grass in the Southeast Market?" Huang Xiaoyan was observing Lu Kuan's new skin from the side. Shaking his head, he said, "Several big trading firms have already gone to the auction house." Even if I bid 40,000, not a single one will be able to take it out. Lu Kuan sighed. It seems that on the way to the overseas market, I have to go to all the markets along the way and buy at least 7 or 8 stocks. Use mid-level top-grade talismans? The body refining plan is also about to start. The attack of the pseudo-magic weapon just now can make my physical body improve a little, so this body refining method should be effective for me. Then Lu Kuan looked at the storage bag on his body and frowned. Although this time it attracted some greedy people and the harvest was quite rich, mid-level top-grade talismans are too expensive. If I want to quickly refine my body to the mid-stage of foundation establishment, it is not something that can be done with a dozen or so talismans. The spirit stones are definitely not enough. Moreover, when I reach the Abyss Island in the overseas market, if I want to rent a shop in a place where there are many cultivators, I don't know how many spirit stones I need every year. Just when Lu Kuan was having a headache about the spirit stones, Xiao Jin, who was healing, suddenly opened his eyes and shouted at Lu Kuan. And I guessed it too. That woman won't catch up. She doesn't lack spirit stones and doesn't need to take the risk. We are already far away from the land of death. Even if she sees my fighting style, it doesn't matter. Squeak, squeak. What? She said that in the storage bag of the 1,000 Treasure Tower, there is something very important to her sect. When Lu Kuan heard Xiao Jin's next sentence, he looked a little puzzled. Then he took out the storage bag of the people of the 1,000 Treasure Tower and searched carefully with divine sense. Could it be this? With Lu Kuan's attainments in refining, he quickly eliminated many magic weapons and materials and took out a black token. This is the only thing that I can't see through. I can't even tell the material. He saw that the material of this black token was like gold but not gold. It looked hard. The front was engraved with the word demon, and the back was engraved with the word demon. He looked at it for a long time, but he couldn't figure it out, so he could only put it away. Ask around along the way in the future. Then Lu Kuan continued to think about the spirit stones. He glanced at Huang Xiaoyun and Little Pan, Yin, who were in a daze. He narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, Xiaoyun, Little Yin, I will give you a mission. How about it? What mission? Nothing, it's just that in the future, every time you pass by a market, you have to show off like these 2 days and then wait for me outside the market. Little Pan, Yin recalled today's scene, and his eyebrows were almost squeezed together. He said very hesitantly, but, Master, didn't we become robbers? Ahem, this is to eliminate evil cultivators with evil intentions and maintain the order of the Chu Kingdom's market. Huang Xiaoyan was stunned. Master, aren't we immortal cultivators of the Wei Kingdom? Lu Kuan ignored Huang Xiaoyan and said to Little Pan Yin, Little Yin, these evil cultivators kill people and steal treasures at the drop of a hat. Don't you think they are very abominable? Lu Kuan's expression when he spoke was completely like an evil uncle holding candy and tempting a child to do bad things. Chapter 315. In a secret cave in the southern marsh region of the Chu country, a burly man laughed heartily as he looked at his 4 limbs with a joyful expression. Under the stimulation of a condensed divine sense, his arms, legs, hands, and feet had a total of 8 complicated spirit arrays hidden in his body, emitting a faint red light. With the activation of the spirit arrays, the dermic powers in the man's body boiled strangely. I didn't expect to be lucky enough to obtain 4 stalks of 2 to 300 years old blood clotting grass in the southern marsh region. I refined enough blood marrow powder to carve the spirit-controlling spirit arrays on a few battle-related body parts. The burly man was Lu Kuan. They had already been in the southern marsh region for half a year. It was not only because the southern marsh region was larger than the eastern marsh region, but also because there were many markets here. Lu Kuan walked and stopped, and he had visited almost all of the large markets in the southern marsh region. Fortunately, the heavens did not disappoint him, and he was able to buy the blood-clotting grass. On this day, he had accumulated enough blood essence, and with the addition of other materials and preparations, he had successfully carved the spirit-controlling spirit arrays on 6 parts of his body, excluding his right arm. At this moment, Lu Kuan was holding a lightning hammer in each hand. The purple light on the two weapons was extremely dazzling, and they had already been activated to the maximum power of the early Foundation establishment stage. The damaged lightning hammer from before had also been completely repaired by him. Under the precise control of his dermic powers, the lightning on the surface of the giant hammer could even fuse into a lightning ball at any time. Lu Kuan was able to control it nimbly. Just as I expected, the spirit-controlling spirit arrays carved on my body with the blood marrow powder are even more effective. It's as if a spirit root is born out of thin air. Lu Kuan muttered to himself. Suddenly, his expression changed, as if he had thought of something unbelievable. Spirit root is born out of thin air? If I can carve the spirit-controlling spirit arrays on the bodies of mortals who have mastered the Vajra esoteric art, will they be able to possess dermic powers? When my spirit root is hidden, I don't have the ability to control spirit chi, but I'm still a cultivator with spirit roots. This spirit-controlling spirit array can help me convert dermic powers. Will it work on mortals without spirit roots? Lu Kuan's imagination was running wild as he came up with a series of ideas. Then, he shook his head and muttered to himself, "Even if I have the body of a Vajra esoteric art master, it's still not strong enough to be the carrier of a spirit-controlling array. I was overthinking it." Lu Kuan threw this thought to the back of his mind in the blink of an eye. He took out a pile of talismans from his storage bag. These talismans? There were 50 to 60 of them, and each of them contained powerful magic fluctuations. If ordinary cultivators knew that Lu Kuan had so many mid-grade, top-grade talismans, they would definitely be shocked. His eyeballs had to pop out of their sockets. How could there be so many powerful talismans? With it in his hands, he could even fight against a normal completion-level cultivator. Lu Kuan sensed a large number of top-grade talismans. When put together, the terrifying aura was similar to that of facing a core formation cultivator. There was an indescribable sense of oppression and trembling. Does this mean that these talismans, if released at the same time, they could easily kill him? Lu Kuan sighed with emotion. In the past 6 months, I've killed a lot of notorious cultivators. That's why I was able to buy so many mid-grade, top-grade talismans. You have to know that these hundreds of thousands of spirit stones can be used by refining materials for magic treasures. Next, Lu Kuan looked at the talismans. He picked out a dozen fire tribute magic talismans. Last time, under the attack of the Fire Lady's pseudo-magic treasure, even if I relied on defensive means to reduce a lot of power, the remaining power was about the same as a mid-grade, top-grade magic talisman. It's completely enough to temper the bones in the depths. Lu Kuan then took out the 9 nether cauldron from Wang Shitong. Some time ago, he relied on the power of his divine sense engraving technique to add a few small arrays to the 9 nether cauldron. He muttered some incantations, and a series of spells were cast into the pitch-black cauldron wall. After a while, the 9 nether cauldrons swelled and grew to the size of an ordinary person. Lu Kuan took off all the robes on his body and jumped into the enlarged 9 nether cauldron. It was just big enough to fit him inside. Then he reached out and waved his hand, and the 3 blaze spell talismans on the ground, he waved them into his hand. Under the cover of the 9 nether cauldron, these talismans can unleash the most power. Only then can it release the greatest power. If it's outside, most of the power will be absorbed by the external muscles. But now that my muscles have been tempered to the limit of my current cultivation, the tempering effect is limited. I have to stimulate the bones in the depths to the greatest extent possible. After muttering to himself, Lu Kuan directly activated a mid-grade, top-grade blaze spell talisman. A fiery red flame appeared in the 9 nether cauldron. At the same time, a spirit light flashed in Lu Kuan's hand. Around the mouth of the 9 nether cauldron, a protruding black stone appeared. Then, it turned into a black lid, sealing the 9 nether cauldron. Lu Kuan actually sealed himself in the 9 nether cauldron, as if his body was a material to be refined into a magic tool. The nine nether cauldron was burning with surging flames. Even outside the cauldron that could withstand core formation realm flames, one could feel the scorching heat. Haha, awesome. The power of the flames directly passed through my muscles. It's a pity that I can't control this spell, otherwise the efficiency would be even higher. Lu Kuan thought so in his heart. The lightning attribute magic power in his body fluctuated violently and divided into two parts. One part formed a protective barrier around his organs. The other part rushed to the burned bones in his body. The blaze spell was destroying, catalyzing his body, and melting his bones. The lightning attribute magic was responsible for repairing these wounds. Lu Kuan's expression was rather ferocious. The pain of being burned by the flames was no less than that of the Thunderfall technique. In fact, it was even stronger than the Thunderfall technique. After all, the Thunderfall technique numbed the nerves, while the Roaring Flame technique only burned. But a talisman? After all, spells were talismans. It came quickly, but it also left quickly. In a short while, the power of the first blaze spell was about to be exhausted, and the surface of Lu Kuan's body was charred black. Immediately after, Lu Kuan activated the second talisman. Taking advantage of the fact that the defensive power of his external muscles had been slightly reduced, he used the blaze spell to refine them again. Lu Kuan stayed in the nine nether cauldron like this for 15 minutes until the power of the three blaze spells was completely exhausted. Only then did he open the cauldron lid and jump out. At this moment, his entire body was char black. The muscles all over his body seemed to have shrunk, and the magic power in his body was extremely low. After three blaze spells, my lightning attribute magic power is pretty much exhausted. Then, he took out a spirit stone and began to recover his magic power. However, as his physical magic power recovered, the charred black on his body still remained, and his muscles also did not recover to their full state. After a long while, Lu Kuan opened his eyes. His face was full of excitement. The magic power consumption is extremely fast, but the effect of this 15 minutes of bone refinement is extremely strong. After I recover my magic power, I can clearly feel that the liquid magic power in my bones has increased by a notch. Haha! Only with this speed can I hope to reach the middle stage of foundation establishment in a short time. I won't recover my muscles for now. My external defense is slightly weaker, so the bone refinement will be easier. Chapter 316. At the entrance of the cave, little Pan Yin and Huang Xiaoyan were sitting cross-legged, guarding the entrance that was covered by a protective array formation, protecting Lu Kuan. Xiao Jin sat behind them, his body emitting a faint yellow glow. There were a few drops of sweat on his monkey face, as if he was enduring some kind of pain. Huang Xiaoyan was observing this senior brother's cultivation carefully. Senior brother, are we still going to the market? It seems that the next one is the last large market in the Southern Marsh region. We can cheat more evil cultivators since we're about to leave the Southern Marsh region anyway. The one who spoke was Pan Yin. This strong-headed child had a face full of excitement, completely without the previous conflicted look. It was as if cheating people had become his hobby. Hearing that, Huang Xiaoyun's eyes revealed some helplessness. After half a year of training, little Pan Yan's sense of justice was still very strong, but it was finally developing in a good direction. He was able to distinguish between good and bad, and his sense of justice exploded towards those evil cultivators who wantonly bullied others. Cheating evil cultivators had already become little Pan Yan's happiest thing. Huang Xiaoyan replied, I'm afraid that there won't be much effect this time. Even if my Vajra incantation has reached the 7th level and I can barely change my appearance, our figures won't change much. If some merchants were to mingle in the market, they would discover that the two of us who are flaunting our wealth in the market are still alive and kicking. They must have their suspicions. Moreover, you've also discovered that the number of evil cultivators who are fooled in the end is decreasing each time. Little Pan Yin pulled a long face and said with a bleak expression, It's a pity that I only managed to enter the 5th level with Master's help. I can't change my appearance. Looks like I can't help Master to kill evil cultivators." Huang Xiaoyan looked at the disappointed little Pan Yin, his eyes rolling in thought for a moment. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. "I have an idea." "Little Pan," Yin asked hurriedly. "What idea?" "Senior brother, tell me quickly." Huang Xiaoyan said, "That means we don't need to attract the attention of those evil cultivators who want to kill us and steal our treasures. Even if we can change our faces, our figures will still be easily recognized. Why don't we let Master disguise himself? As Master's enemies, we will cooperate with him. In the future, Master will reveal some of his value." "Yes, as long as I can cooperate with Master." Pan Yin knew that his current cultivation was too low. Apart from cooperating, there was no way he could participate in the battle. Then, he looked into the depths of the cave and revealed a worried expression. "However, Master has already been in seclusion for more than 10 days. You should be fine. It'll be fine." Huang Xiaoyun gazed at the cave and revealed a look of yearning. "I heard Master say that because he is still exploring the path of body cultivation, the sooner he reaches the perfect foundation stage, the higher his chances of entering the completion stage. Why did Master buy so many mid-grade, top-grade mage talismans? It is to use the powerful might of these magical powers to bombard the physical body. This way, the physical body will improve rapidly under repeated polishing." Pan Yin asked in a daze, "Mid-grade, top-grade talisman?" Master used his physical body to receive it. During this period of time, he had been in the cultivation world and had seen countless battles between foundation stage cultivators. Of course, he knew about this talisman. It was powerful. Generally, a late foundation establishment stage cultivator would not be able to withstand a spell of this level, even if they relied on their own magical power to protect themselves. However, their master was able to withstand such a spell without relying on any defensive measures. Furthermore, he was able to use this spell to temper his body. This was simply more demonic than demonic beasts. Little Pan Yin could not help but murmur, "Can we be as strong as Master after we reach the foundation stage? This way, when I fight with others, I don't even need to make a move. The enemy can't break through my defense at all." Huang Xiaoyan flicked little Pan Yin's forehead and said, "Junior brother, didn't Master also tell us before that he has some kind of special physique? The foundation of his physical body is already stronger than ours. Moreover, he cultivated his body, which is why he has such a terrifying physical body today. However, Master has already paved the path from the Qi refinement stage to the foundation stage for us. The Vajra esoteric art refines the foundation. The Qi refinement stage refines the muscles. The early stage foundation stage refines the bones. The mid-stage foundation stage refines the marrow. The late-stage foundation stage refines the internal organs, and finally reaches the great circle of foundation stage. Just these alone are enough for us to cultivate in peace for hundreds of years. When we reach the foundation stage, although we won't be as strong as Master, ordinary cultivators of the same level will definitely not be our match." Little Pan Yin revealed a yearning expression, then closed his eyes and began to cultivate. At this time, he had reached the 5th level of the Vajra esoteric art, which cultivated the muscles and nerves of his entire body. After Lu Kuan's improvement, he only needed to cultivate the first half of the spirit sensing technique for this level. The speed was much faster than the Vajra esoteric art, and he could quickly enter the 6th level. Seeing this, Huang Xiaoyan also began to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to temper his physical body. Only by reaching the great circle of Vajra esoteric art as soon as possible could he cultivate the essence gold body tempering technique that Lu Kuan had taught him. At this moment, Xiao Jin opened his eyes and jumped up, squeaking excitedly. This squeaking made little Pan Yin and Huang Xiaoyan stop cultivating. They both stood up and looked into the depths of the cave. They saw Lu Kuan slowly walking out from inside. His physical dermic powers had already been stimulated by him, and his entire body exuded an even more vigorous dermic power fluctuation. Even though he was relatively far away, Pan Yin and Huang Xiaoyun felt extremely uncomfortable. Soon, Lu Kuan restrained the dermic power fluctuations in his entire body and became like little Pan Yin, just like a mortal. Master, you've broken through to the middle stage of the foundation stage. Huang Xiaoyun's face was full of excitement. Previously, when his master was in the early stage of the foundation stage, his dermic powers were not as strong as now. Lu Kuan shook his head and said, I'm still in the early stage of the foundation stage, but the strength of my bones has improved greatly, causing the amount of dermic powers that can be stored in my bones to increase greatly. I'm still a distance away from the peak of the early stage of the foundation stage. However, after tempering my bones quite a bit, my strength has increased a little. It should be around 56,000 pounds. The excitement on Huang Xiaoyun's face did not diminish in the slightest. He said, It's only been 10 days, and Master, your cultivation has improved so much. Doesn't that mean that in a month, you'll steadily reach the peak of the early stage of the foundation stage? When that time comes, you'll break through again and become a body cultivator in the middle stage of the foundation stage. Lu Kuan's face was a little dark, and he said with a pained expression, Sigh, in these 10 days, I spent hundreds of thousands of spirit stones to buy mid-level top-grade talismans. I used them all up, and only then did I complete more than half of the foundation stage cultivation. Are these spirit stones equivalent to magic treasures? My physical defense is gradually increasing. To complete the tempering of my bones and reach the peak of the early stage of the foundation stage, I'll need at least 50 more of the same talismans. This is completely burning spirit stones. Huang Xiaoyun chuckled and said, Master, we were just discussing that the previous method might not have any effect. Oh, then what evil idea do you have? That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.